Football League, the Super Bowl champion Baltimore Ravens taking on the Cleveland Browns. With Cincinnati's loss Thursday in Miami, a Baltimore win today, they come to within a game and a half of the Bengals, and they meet next week. Cleveland trying to stop 11 consecutive losses to Baltimore. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Along with Solomon Wilcots, Kevin Harlan. An important game, any way you look at it, in the division.
This is a heated rivalry in the AFC North Division. Both teams check in with only 3 wins at the halfway point. The winner remains in the division hunt to try to at least compete for a division crown, and the loser will take a huge step in the wrong direction.
Today's game is being broadcast in Spanish. We're available using the SAP button on your television. We've had the flip of the coin. Baltimore won. They have deferred. Fossey Whitaker is back to retrieve it for the Cleveland Browns. And to kick off for Baltimore, Justin Tucker. The wind is at the back of Baltimore in this first quarter, and we are underway. Whitaker, who played at Texas, a couple yards deep for the Browns. And out of bounds he goes. Graham jumping on his back. Shockey Brown is over there. 22-yard return. This takes us to the Cleveland offense. Browns are on their 3rd quarterback this season. Jason Campbell on his 4th team in his 9th season out of Auburn with some pretty good numbers last week. Solomon against the then and still undefeated Kansas City Chiefs.
He had the highest quarterback rating of any of the 3 quarterbacks who played so far this season for the Cleveland Browns. He gives them an excellent chance of playing well today.
Overnight in the backfield, 1st and 10 for Campbell. Grabbed by Suggs and brought down. Sacked back at the 14-yard line. It's a loss of 6 on the play, and Suggs has sack number 9.
Wow, they come right out hunting the quarterback. Here's Suggs here. He's going to come late, but he's still able to use his athleticism to get around the offensive lineman Mitchell Schwartz to still come away with a sack. The Baltimore Ravens have now had a sack in 19 consecutive games, the 3rd longest active streak in the National Football League.
Set, green 80! Green
2nd down and 16. And former Baltimore Raven Willis McGahee brings it up. You see different players down there on him, including Darrell Smith. It is a gain of 5. And there's the offensive line. Laval has added a lot of stability to it. Solid line. Thomas, a 6-time Pro Bowler at the left tackle. And we just saw McGahee with his years in Baltimore. And the big playmakers here on the right, Josh Gordon and the tight end, Jordan Cameron, number 84. These are the main players offensively for the Browns, who come in 3 and 5. 3rd down and 11 on the move. There's Josh Gordon, who is brought down on the play by Graham from behind. Gain of 3 up to the 23-yard line, and they're going to have to punt.
And Josh Gordon's going to come across the field, but look at the tight coverage by Graham. Closing in, allowing the catch, but not enough to pick up the 1st down. The players around the quarterback, so much of the talk has been about who's playing quarterback for these Cleveland Browns, Kevin. Players around them have to play better in order for them to compete in games.
So the Browns to punt. Here is Spencer Lanning. He is a year out of South Carolina. Deep back, Tandon Boss, the number 2 punt return man in the NFL. Doss with the block and off to the races and brought down, as you see, from behind by the long snapper. That was Christian Yount. 26-yard return to New York and James Brown.
Washington in overtime.
3rd and inches, JB. Darrell Young, 3rd rushing touchdown of the day, gives the Skins the victory. 30-24 over the Chargers.
Redskins improved to 3 and 5. San Diego drops to 4 and 4. Kevin Harlan, Solomon Wilcots.
And the Cowboys still on top in that division. You see the Eagles and the Redskins right behind. After a 3 and out by the Browns, here's Baltimore, 1st and 10, a little bit low, incomplete, and looking for Jacoby Jones. Owens on the coverage. Good field position here by the Champs because of the Tandon Doss 26-yard punt return. It'll be 2nd down and 10, and there's a look at the Super Bowl MVP Big new contract in the offseason, quarterback Joe Flacco.
They're going to allow him to run the show today, Kevin. You see him going no huddle, 3 wide receiver set. Ball's going to be in his hands all day.
Rice on second down and 10, plowing ahead and brought down by Ataba Rubin. This is a good run defense for Cleveland. Gain of 5 right there. Down to the 47 of the Browns. A.Q. Shipley taking the place of Osemele, who is out at the left guard. Monroe is a big upgrade, certainly over McKinney at the left tackle. And here you see Ray Rice and his different offensive weapons. Torrey Smith has only caught a touchdown pass, and that's it this year. Offense has been struggling, framing their season so far. 3rd and 5. Orr with the block at the right tackle in time, and broken up, an incomplete screen broken up. They were going for Jones. It's incomplete on 3rd and 5, and that's a 3 and out.
Jacoby Jones has a step on Buster Screen. Now watch the throw from Flacco. He's got to lead Jacoby Jones a little bit more to the sideline. See how he had to wait on that ball? It allowed Buster Screen to recover. He was in tight coverage. The secondary in Cleveland is a much improved one. And if you're not on the money, they'll make you pay. Flacco has to throw a better ball there, and he has himself a completion.
And a timeout taken for the Cleveland Browns. And there's the first-year head coach, Rob Jasinski. A couple years before with the Carolina Panthers. Grew up in Toledo. So he is a lifelong Browns fan. He was the offensive coordinator here in 2007, the last time the Browns beat the Ravens. And on the other side, of course, you've got John Harbaugh. All of his years as the head coach, all 5 of them. He's taken this team to the postseason along with his quarterback, Joe Flacco. Had a terrific talk with them last night. His team coming in at 3 and 4. They're coming off a bye. And on those following games, they are 5-0 under Harbaugh. Browns have lost 3 straight coming in. Ravens have lost 2 consecutive games. Best was back in the end zone. It goes. There was a punt right there. So both teams have had it once. Browns got it initially after the Ravens won the flip of the coin and deferred. 3 and out for Cleveland. And then the Baltimore Ravens got it back as Tandon Doss returned the punt 26 yards with good beginning field position. They could do nothing with it. They have a 3 and out. Now here's the second possession for the Cleveland Browns. If you're just joining us, we welcome our new audience. Browns have lost 3 straight. Ravens coming off a bye have lost 2 in a row. McGahee in the backfield.
Monday, Green 80.
And McGahee grabbed by Daryl Smith, longtime Jacksonville Jaguar. That is a gain of 3, and he's up to the 23-yard line. Let's take a look at the defense right here. Number 16, but they have been struggling recently, stopping the run. Nada constantly seeing double teams up front. Jameel McClain has missed some time, certainly with the bruised spine. He started last game against Pittsburgh. He makes his 2nd consecutive start today. Improving secondary with cornerback Jimmy Smith, a key component there. 2nd down and 7. Jason Campbell. And the receiver fell. There goes a flag. They were going for the tight end Cameron. And the coverage on the play was by Matt Elam, the rookie out of Florida, in the Ravens secondary.
Looks like they're going to call Matt Elam. He was matched up in man-to-man coverage against the talented tight end, Jordan Cameron. Just as he was about to break loose, it looked as if both players were tied up and their feet became entangled. We'll have to see how they're going to rule on this one. Long conference by the officials trying to make a determination.
Scott Green is our referee. He worked Super Bowl.
Interference, defense. Ball will be placed at the spot of the foul. First down.
It took quite a conference to figure out not just what the call was, but where they would place the ball. Either way, it's going to be a first down for these Cleveland Browns.
Browns lost last week at Kansas City, 23-17. They trailed 13-0 within 3 points the entire 4th quarter. They played well and take a lot of the positive movement they feel from that game into today. First and 10 from the 34 for Campbell. Thomas the block at the left tackle. And that is caught. Grabbed by Little. Making his move, looking for a block. He gets one from Cameron, then from behind. Brought down by Jameel McClain. To the Raven 34. A catch and run of 32 and a Cleveland first down.
Probably the best play we've seen from Greg Little all season long, because he catches this ball in traffic, delivered by Jason Campbell. And Norv Turner, the offensive coordinator for the Cleveland Browns, he challenged the likes of Greg Little and Devon Best, saying that the receivers, he needed more production out of them, and named both guys specifically. And how about Little responded?
Marquise Gray, this is the Wildcat formation, and you see the tackle made by Arthur Jones. It is a gain of 1. Gray is a rookie, free agent from Minnesota, and he was cut by San Francisco, a college quarterback at the University of Minnesota. And they run that Wildcat from time to time, picking up a yard, second down and 9.
They're doing everything they can to try to manufacture some offense for this football team. And, you know, in their 5 losses, they've only averaged 12 points per game. Really struggling to put points on the board.
380. 380.
It's second down and 9. The fake to McGahee. A good-looking catch by Gordon, brought down by Lardarius Webb. He's near the 5, a 28-yard connection by one of the best so far in the NFL, the young player out of Baylor, Josh Gordon, first and goal.
Watch the play action fake right there. That's what allows Josh Gordon to get open at the second level. This is what we call a bang gate. As soon as he hits the top of that route, the ball's got to be right upon the receiver. You can see Josh Gordon beating Ladarius Webb inside, gaining position. That ball was on Gordon before the safety could react to help on coverage.
3 tight ends, one of which is on the top of your screen as a receiver. First and goal at the 6. And a timeout taken by Baltimore. Each team with 2. We're just starting here in Cleveland. Browns on the move. No score, 9:28 to play in the first. We've had some big completions on this drive of 32 yards to the wide receiver out of North Carolina, Greg Little, and a 28-yard pass moments ago to Josh Gordon. And here they've got it, first and goal at the Raven 6.
You can see what they've done in their last 20 possessions against the Baltimore Ravens, where the Ravens have had, their defense had great success against these Cleveland Browns, where they've not been able to score. Now with Jason Campbell, let's see what they can do.
It is McGahee. Tries to find some room in there. There's not a whole lot. He picks up a yard. Smith was there with the stop. And Suggs. And also linebacker Josh Bynes. Second down and goal.
Remember, Jason Campbell is the 3rd quarterback to start for these Cleveland Browns this season. I think what he gives them, Kevin, is he gives them obviously the veteran presence, having started 72 career games, but his big arm and experience, I think, should bode well for this football team.
340. 340.
Second down and goal at the 5. Arthur Jones was chasing and he lost his balance. Little and Gordon were in the end zone area for the Cleveland Browns, incomplete. Campbell does a lot of things. He has a lot of confidence, a lot of starts in the NFL, just exactly what this Cleveland offense needs.
I think his experience brings poise to this. Is a very young football team here with the Cleveland Browns. As you can see, 3rd and goal, the mobility that he gives you is quite surprising, I think, to most defenses. He's a tall, long, and rangy quarterback, but his experience, I think, to just throw that ball away and live to fight another day is just another added benefit.
Very good red zone defense for Baltimore, number 1 in the NFL. 3rd and goal at the 5. Campbell, Obadiah, pushed out of bounds across the way by Jimmy Smith on a gain of 4 to the 1.
This is just a great break on the ball by Jimmy Smith. He closes in quickly, understanding you've got to get your head on him to get him out of bounds before he turns up to hit the chalk. He's able to keep Obadiah out of the end zone. Looks like the Browns going to go for it. They know points come at a premium when you're playing against this Baltimore Ravens defense with a veteran quarterback. Give him a shot to put some points on the board.
So you like him going for it here, not taking 3?
I do like him going for it. If you have a good plan, if you can get the right matchup, I would prefer to go ahead and take the 3 points.
All right, timeout taken. They're going to talk it over. 4th and goal early in the game, and you see no score. So Cleveland has used 2 timeouts already. We've got 8.5 to play in the first quarter. They've talked it over. Here they go. 4th and goal at the Baltimore 1. Watch for Cameron, 84, one of the best red zone receivers in the NFL. Campbell. Dumerville with pressure. That is caught by Bess, and that is a Cleveland Brown touchdown.
So the gamble and aggressive play calling by Rob Jasinski and Norv Turner pays off. He's in the slot. They're blitzing. Here comes Dumerville. Ball out quick, and the catch by Devon Bess in tight coverage. Bess had been battling to hold on to the football. He had some critical drops last week. In fact, came into today's game leading the league with 9 drops. And boy, did he come through for his head coach on the 4th down play.
Webb and Graham were on the coverage. 1-yard touchdown throw by quarterback Jason Campbell. And the extra point by former Raven Billy Cundiff. And 7-0 Browns. Devon Bess, his first touchdown reception as a Cleveland Brown. The ex-Dolphin hauling it in. A lot of congestion. 7-zip Cleveland. Well, the Browns are very confident coming into today by virtue of what they did last week in Kansas City, although losing, but playing well, they thought.
And they played well behind Jason Campbell, particularly in the second half of the ball game. He appears to have great rhythm and chemistry with these receivers and allowing everyone to take their game to another level.
After the 1-yard touchdown pass to Devon Bess, the ensuing kickoff. Jason Campbell hit 4 different receivers.
Here in Cleveland, the Browns defense is on the field, and the art of pattern reading is critical to their zone defense. Watch here on the 3 receiver side. There are also 3 defenders. Each defender will look to cover an area in the underneath zone while vacating an area to which the quarterback, it appears to be uncovered. Now watch as the safety will match up to the number 2 receiver to intercept the pass. Pattern reading allows defenses to play a tighter zone coverage while baiting the quarterback. Look for the Browns defense to do some of the same things to Joe Flacco today.
After the 1-yard touchdown pass by Cleveland, here is Flacco on 1st and 10. He's got wide receiver Deontay Thompson, 7th catch of the season. It is a pickup of 9. He's up to the 29-yard line. And the defense for the Browns. Good run stoppers in Phil Taylor and Ataba Rubin. All Kruger was a high pick by the Baltimore franchise years ago. And there's the secondary right there with Hayden as the number 1 defensive back. And a gain of 5 as they bring it up the middle with Ray Rice. Gets the first down. He's at the 34-yard line.
You know, this matchup zone we talk about for the Cleveland Browns was brought here by Ray Horton, their defensive coordinator. Some of the same zone blitz concepts that Dick LeBeau uses in Pittsburgh. These Baltimore Ravens, they've seen it before as much as they've played the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Browns with 5 defensive backs. It's 1st and 10.
I told you Joe Flacco was going to run the show. You could see he's doing it.
Rice, he's there as he feels about as healthy as he has felt all season. Kruger jumps on his back. And it is a gain of about 1 yard up to, they make it 2 up to the 36.
Kevin, what Joe Flacco is doing, he's going to count the number of defenders in the box. If he gets 6 defenders in the box, he's going to check to a run play as you saw him do there. He's going to allow Ray Rice to try to get the run game going. Came into today's game averaging 2.8 yards a carry.
Flacco on 2nd down and 8. And a grab. Thompson again, 2nd catch today, 45-yard line, picks up 10. That is a first down again for the Ravens.
Remember, Jim Caldwell, the offensive coordinator with the Ravens, served in that same capacity as well as the head coach in Indianapolis for years with Peyton Manning. Some of the things you saw Peyton do for years in Indy, they're now allowing Joe Flacco to do with this Baltimore Ravens offense. He's running the show from the line of scrimmage after reading the defense.
There's a 1st and 10 right here. Rice looking for a block there from Shipley. They get through in a hurry. Desmond Bryant, but T.J. Ward blew it up. Wassup 2 on the play, back to the 44.
And one of the more interesting points to take a look for, look at the zone blocking. See, they pull the guards. It's all a zone run scheme, and that's one of the huge adjustments that the Baltimore Ravens are having to make this year, where in the past there was a lot of man-to-man blocking, big, strong offensive linemen coming off, pounding the running game. This year they've gone to a zone scheme, and it's taken some time for them to adjust and be productive.
2nd down and 12. Flacco almost picked off on the play by Owens, the former Atlanta Falcon. It's incomplete.
What did Joe Flacco tell us about this Cleveland Browns defense? He said, they've always had a pretty good secondary, but, not only are they good, they know they are good. He said they're a very confident group, and you can see whether it's Chris Owens, whether it's Buster Screen. Again, Flacco throws the ball behind the intended receiver. Seen him do that now for the 2nd time in the ball game.
He was looking for Thompson once again. 3rd down and 12. 6 in the secondary for the Browns. They've also brought in Leon McFadden.
They've got too many on the field, don't they?
I think they do. And it may have been McFadden.
12 men on defense, 5-yard penalty, still 3rd down.
Yeah, they've got too many on the field. McFadden, he got caught out there. He's a rookie. Look, so you've got a number of different guys. You got 4 guys on the line of scrimmage. You got 3 linebackers, and then you got 5 DBs. Now watch. See, he's trying to get out of there, but there he is. You're the 12th guy, the odd man out.
Still the high number of defensive backs, 6. 3rd and 7 now. With Rice at his side, here comes Flacco. They need the 45, and on the move they got Doss. Brought down by Scream. The catch and roll takes him to the Cleveland 28. He picks up 23, 1st and 10, Baltimore.
I think Joe Flacco just showed us something that he brings to the table a lot of quarterbacks don't, who are pocket passers. He's a very mobile guy. He can move, but look at him throw that ball to Doss, even while he was pressing the line of scrimmage, climbing the pocket.
And so confident.
Really good play by Flacco. Watch him set the offense. Got 11 personnel, 1 running back, 1 tight end, 3 wide receivers. It's the personnel of choice for Joe Flacco in this Ravens offense.
And the 8th play of the drive. Rice looking for a block from Orr. Brought down on the play by John Hughes. It is a gain of 4 to the 24-yard line of the Cleveland Browns.
Once again, 6 in the box. He was going to check to a run. It's really very unselfish for Flacco. Most of these quarterbacks, we know it's a quarterback-driven league. They want to throw it every single time, but he's going to be very patient. He reads 6 defenders in the box. He's going to check to the run, give the ball to Ray Rice, give it to Bernard Pierce, and let the run game get going.
Pierce comes in, 2nd and 6.
6 defenders in the box again.
Incomplete. Looking for Brown. Coverage by Screen. That makes it 3rd and 6. And before we get there, let's go to New York and James.
Patriots D.
2 cracks and 4th and goal. The first time the Steelers was offside. This time, onside. Stops him again. 0-0. Patriots. Steelers.
Kevin Harlan, Solomon Wilcots.
Recent success for the Steelers against the Patriots.
And remember, these Pittsburgh Steelers just recently beat the Baltimore Ravens before their bye week. So all these teams are in the hunt in the AFC North.
Flacco 3rd and 6, and down he goes. This time it's Quentin Groves who makes the sack, 2nd of the year. He's brought down at the 34. He loses 9, the first sack for Cleveland's D. And they'll try for 3, will the Baltimore offense.
Oh, this front 7. There's Groves there working against Michael Orr. Coming around the right side. He comes around that end, and DeQuell Jackson and Barkevius Mingo get pressure in the face, and Flacco's not able to climb the pocket. Groves come away with a sack.
They had 6 sacks last week against Kansas City.
Oh, this front seven, they are a lot to deal with. They can be a handful for this Ravens offense.
Tucker has made 13 consecutive field goals. A 51-yarder is right down the middle, and the Ravens on the board. 3:38 to play in the first. The big play there, Doss caught one for 23. Justin Tucker from 51. Ravens just got on the board with a 51-yard field goal. They beat this Cleveland team week 2 back in mid-September, 14-6 in Baltimore. Fozzie Whitaker gets the Tucker kickoff. He will leave it in the end zone. So we have these two teams from the north, the Ravens at 3-4, the Browns at 3-5 on CBS. Fantasy football fans, check out CBSSports.com Player Challenge, a new 4-week game with a cash prize in every league. See rules and sign up at CBSSports.com/challenge. Third possession for the Browns. Last time a 1-yard touchdown pass to Bess.
Bring it up.
Jason Campbell, 1st and 10. McGahee with a block from Greco. And brought down the play by Ihedebo on a gain of 2 to the 22-yard line. Well, it is the NFL's longest active winning streak by one team over another. 11 consecutive Raven wins.
Yeah, and Joe Flacco has been the quarterback for the Ravens through all of those 11 wins since he's come into the National Football League. He's been the Ravens starting quarterback, and he has never lost to these Cleveland Browns. But he said, you know, they are a tough defense. He feels like they've always been good, and he says all of these games have been relatively close. They expect it to be the same way today.
Bring it up.
2nd down and 8. Whitaker was in the backfield, and that's who Campbell will go to. Fozzie Whitaker dancing on the side, brought down by McLean. And he's out of bounds at about the 22, and no gain on the play. Yeah, during that time, the Browns, you're talking about, you know, since 07, they've had 4 different head coaches and 5 different quarterbacks.
Wow, and Rob Chizensky wants to put an end to all that. They want some consistency. They believe that the veteran leadership of Jason Campbell will give them some stability on offense, allow them to score more points. They believe they have the foundations of a really good defense here. They really do need to improve their play at quarterback and maintain some consistency on offense.
Campbell looks into the nickel on 3rd down and 8. Obadiah out of the backfield, the block by Schwartz, the running Campbell. He needs the 30, and a nice tackle is made right there by the rookie out of Kansas State with a flag thrown. Arthur Brown made the stop. And as you can see, Campbell a little bit shaken up on the play.
Wow, he landed hard on Campbell.
Personal foul. Unnecessary roughness, number 92. 15-yard penalty, 1st down.
And that was 3rd and 8, and he's got some turf on his grill.
And when we talk about quarterbacks and their veteran presence, you know, they know if I slide, you can't hit me. If I go head first, I'm like any other football player. Now watch this. This is not a slide. That's head first.
And he's falling.
He's falling. Not as falling. That's a football play. The quarterback has the ability to save himself simply by sliding. You go feet first. They can't hit you as you're going down. You go head first, you're just like any other football player, including a running back. And as much as you hate to see this for the Browns and Jason Campbell leaving the game, not quite 100%, a little bit woozy, he has to be able to slide to protect himself.
And it's the lateness of the hit, obviously, which is the problem. So Campbell will be out. Brandon Whedon, the 2nd-year quarterback out of Oklahoma State. He was chosen last year by a different front office to be the franchise quarterback. He has had a horrible season. Hasn't played since Green Bay a couple weeks ago. He is greeted with a chorus of boos. And here he goes. He started the first 2 games. He got hurt. Brian Hoyer came in. He started the next 3. He got hurt. Whedon came in. He played poorly. Campbell did. And now it's back to Whedon. And here is an end around Josh Gordon. A block from the center, Mack, and from the tight end, Barnidge. And Josh Gordon, who thought he might get traded at the deadline, gets 10 on the run. And he's up to the Cleveland 47. It's kind of put the team at ease that Gordon is here.
Yeah, when we talked to him, he told us he's relieved to still be here in Cleveland. As you watch him on this end around, he said he spent Tuesday, the last day of the trading deadline, waiting by the phone. Finally had to leave the house. And when the phone didn't ring, he felt a little bit better about it.
Whedon stays. And 1st and 10, little run up the gut. And a gain of 4 right there. McGahee with some shoving after the play, as you can see. Division rivals very familiar with each other. Edebo is in there and lost his hat. And he was down there battling with Little, who grabbed the hat and then throws it to the sideline, and a flag is thrown.
No, you can't do that.
Nope.
You can't take the helmet and throw it. And Greg Little has to know better.
Little was a starter to begin the season, demoted, and now he's kind of worked his way back in the lineup.
After the play, unsportsmanlike conduct. Number 18, 15-yard penalty. 2nd down.
No, it's not necessary if you're Greg Little. And there's going to be contact right at the bottom of the screen. Take a look at it. And here's Little there. As you see, they are still chippy. They're playing to the echo of the whistle. And there you see right there, he and James Hedebo, and there's some contact right there at the bottom of the screen. There's some punching going on now. A lot of things always happen at the bottom of those piles.
Things we can't talk about.
Yeah, but one thing we can't talk about, the helmet is yanked off.
Yeah.
You can see Little has it, and he throws it. This is why he incurs the 15-yard penalty.
4 in the secondary for the Ravens. 2nd down, 21. Leading in for the injured Campbell is being looked at by doctors on the sideline. They go short. It's Obanaya. A great read right there by Daryl Smith, the leading tackler. It's a loss of 2. Back to the 34.
I know it was a screenplay, but Greg Little was wide open going down the middle of the field. And of course, Wheaton's doing what he's instructed to do on the screenplay, try to get it out to his back. And the times when Wheaton has struggled, which has been often this season, it's really been about his lack of accuracy, where he's had receivers open and he's missed guys who's been wide open. And that's why they've gone to other quarterbacks. But now that he's in the game, he's got to compose himself and be able to make some plays within the offense.
3rd and 23. They need the 43 of Baltimore. Right up the middle they come. And the rookie was leading the charge. It's an incomplete pass. And it's Brown, who is a 2nd-round pick out of K-State. Arthur Brown. What defense? Tightening the screws right there. Cleveland's got a punt.
You got to set the protection. And right now, look, who's he throwing that ball to, Kevin? He's in the pocket. He's within the framework of the pocket. He doesn't get the ball back to the line of scrimmage. I think he should have been called for intentional grounding there.
Toss is deep on the punt by Lanning. Got a 26-yard return last time, and the top guy returning in the AFC, 2nd in the NFL, has a fair catch, 49-yard line near the 18-yard line. He is a good one and emerging this year. What do Tom Brady and the conductor of the New York Philharmonic have in common? More than you might think. And Tom Brady shows us why on CBS this morning. It's tomorrow, only CBS. A flag was thrown on that punt on the sideline at the 33.
During the kick, number 91 holding receiving team. 10-yard penalty from the spot of foul. 1st down.
That's Courtney Upshaw. Right now, Cleveland fans are concerned about their quarterback who looked so good last week. Campbell is up. He's had the examination on the sideline. There's independent counsel, too, on the sideline this year. As he goes over and he'll visit, there's Brandon Wheaton on the other side. So the quarterback situation at Cleveland just continues to be very turbulent.
And Haloti Ngata goes 340 pounds and fell, looked like on the head of Jason Campbell as his face mask was planted right into the soil. You saw him come up with a chunk of grass there. Ngata was a guy that injured RG3 in a game last year when they played against the Washington Redskins.
Pierce in the backfield with the penalty back to the 9, 1st and 10. Flacco and short hit the coverage of DeQuell Jackson on the backside. They're going for the tight end and Dixon, and that will be the final play of the 1st quarter. Now the Ravens will go into the win, trailing 7-3 on CBS. There's a look at John Harbaugh. If the Ravens win, they can move within a game and a half of first place Cincinnati in the North. They trail 7-3. First play, 2nd quarter. Pierce on 2nd and 10. Kruger forces him outside. And then brought down in the play by Billy Wynn, who has been battling an injury, inactive the last 5 games. Starting today on the line in their very good sub packages. Loss of 2. Solomon back to the 7.
Yeah, Wynn's got to hit that. I should say Pierce has to hit it up inside of Wynn and inside of Kruger. He's got to get going downhill. He tried to get outside against 3-4 front. It's not going to be easy to do. You see these Cleveland Browns have not allowed a 100-yard rusher this season. So the Baltimore Ravens, they're running into a brick wall when it comes to this Browns defensive front.
They're telling us Campbell has a rib injury. He should return. 3rd and 12 into the nickel. Flacco. Underneath for Doss. Incomplete. Coverage by Ward. They got a punt 3 and out. Again for the 2nd time for Baltimore.
Flacco didn't set himself. He wanted to go with it somewhere else, and at the last minute came off the intended receiver to try to get it out to Tandon Doss. It just didn't reset his feet.
Cook will punt, and newly signed deep back man will be Armonte Edwards, former quarterback at Appalachian State. Signed this week. He was a high pick by Carolina a couple years ago. And Edwards into the bright lights, makes the grab, 45, and some nice special teams downfield by Jeremy Miles. Claimed off waivers in September. It's a 2-yard return on a 47-yard punt. Well, the last time Cleveland beat Baltimore, Phil Dawson's game-tying field goal attempt at the end of regulation was initially ruled no good after several Raven players went back to the locker room to celebrate. The officials reversed the call. The game went to overtime, where Dawson then booted a 33-yard game-winning field goal. It was the Browns' last win over the Ravens. They've lost 11 consecutive games since, and that is good news if you're a Browns fan. Campbell is back in.
Yeah, he's back in, and boy, do they need him. Brandon Wheaton couldn't light a spark. Let's see if Campbell can do so.
Fake to McGahee. Campbell, second option underneath, and he's got his receiver Little, who is run out of bounds right there by the 3rd-year defensive back out of Colorado, former #1 pick Jimmy Smith. It is a pickup of 7. He'll be to the 46.
And you can see the veteran presence. You can see the trust that Rob Chizensky has in Jason Campbell. That was a play action. They wanted to go deep and try to get it up top to Josh Gordon. He was covered, but then Campbell came clear back to the other side. Was able to hit the comeback route to Greg Little.
Brandon Williams on that defensive line now for Baltimore. 2nd down and 3. And McGahee, he was hit by Jones, and Jones held on for dear life and only allows a 2-yard gain down to the 44. The Ravens made some headlines this week by cutting a couple of veterans, guys that they got in off-season free agency that they thought might help them this year.
Marcus Spears signed in the offseason as an unrestricted free agent to help the defensive line as you take a look at these guys. And then Michael Huff on the back end had signed as an unrestricted free agent, came over from Oakland, but whether it's due to injuries or lack of production, they were able to part ways, and both guys handled it like real pros.
3rd down and 1. He's got the 1st down. McGahee then stood up and brought back by Jameel McClain on a gain of 2 just inside the 42-yard line. McGahee is taking the place of Trent Richardson, who they traded after an 0-2 start. McGahee was sitting at home in Florida waiting for a call, and finally he got one.
Yeah, we told you the Ravens have struggled to run the ball. Both teams have struggled to run the football, including the Cleveland Browns. They only have 1 rushing touchdown all season long. McGahee was not in training camp with this team. I think it's taken some time for him to adapt and get into shape where he can really be productive on a consistent basis.
Whitaker in the backfield with the tight end Barnage. 1st down and 10 for Campbell. Behind Whitaker, incomplete. Webb was in the vicinity. 2nd down and 10. Campbell is getting 2nd start today for the Browns.
He's off to a good start. Completing passes on the drive, throwing it in traffic to Greg Little. He's been able to get the ball to his #1 weapon, Josh Gordon, to help set up this 4th down completion for a touchdown to Devon Best. 7-9 starting the game for Jason Campbell. 1 touchdown toss of 75 yards. Playing very even, keeping his offense on the football field.
Chuck! Bring it ahead!
2nd down and 10. And that is caught. And Little again. He had a case of the drops. He's led him in receiving the last 2 years. I mentioned before, demoted because of those drops. And the gain of 15 yards on the play to the 27.
Now watch, both he and Gordon are going to be in the same area. I think Little takes this one down. He steals this ball from Gordon. This is how much North Turner challenged him, and he's just going up to get the ball. You're right. He came in with 5 drops on the season so far. They challenged him to produce more this week, and boy, you can tell he's got his confidence up.
Smith was there with the tackle. Yeah, earned his way back into some time. Campbell on 1st and 10. Barnage the tight end with the block and buying time. Little again. High pick out of North Carolina. Ahead of Bo drives him out of bounds near the 13-yard line. Flag thrown. 15-yard pickup as it stands right now.
They're going to get him for taunting, Kevin. He's got to maintain his composure. Starting to make some plays, and you start to feel good about yourself. You got to really maintain some poise here.
Unsportsmanlike conduct, taunting, number 18. 15-yard penalty, first down.
Watch at the end of this play with James Hedebo. See, and then that right there. And the league is cracking down on this kind of behavior. He's got to know better.
Well, they have more penalties on this Cleveland team than all but 2 teams in the NFL. One of the problems of a team that's trying to dig themselves out of a hole, a big hole for a long time.
Rob Jasinski says we're searching for an identity. That's not the one he's looking for.
15 gain, 15 penalty, first down and 10. Yeah, he was in the backfield. That's high and wide for Gordon. Webb was covering. Gordon really is their top receiver, but along with the tight end, Jordan Cameron. But they've been really covering him with some of their best today.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. You can see 2 unsportsmanlike conduct penalties on Greg Little. And so while he's improved his play on the field, he's got to improve in his demeanor and professionalism. That's something, Josh Gordon, we've seen him grow, Kevin. He's served a 2-game suspension. He's been told by the club, no more. You get no more strikes. The next one, you're off the team, and you've seen him curb his conduct off the field, and I think he's made for a much better football player.
Campbell into the nickel on 2nd down and 10. Up the middle, here comes Nada. There goes Campbell. Finding the sidelines, got to the 19-yard line, forced out of bounds there by Jimmy Smith. A scramble of 8 for the veteran Campbell as we take you to New York in James.
Shannon, you said underestimate no one.
Respect everyone. Mike James. 2 yards. Up. Tom Crabtree catches it 21-0. Tampa Bay over Seattle in what many think is the toughest place to win a game.
Back to Kevin Harlan and Solomon Wilcots.
Crabtree is a former Green Bay Packer tight end. Let go, reeled in by the Buck. Who would have thought that score?
Isn't that something?
My goodness. Short week, too, for Seattle. Played on Monday that Boomer and I did in St. Louis. 3rd down and 3. Oh, he's got Best. He's got room. Oh, what a move! He broke the ankles of Webb and takes it in for his 2nd touchdown today.
Who were the guys Norv Turner said we need more production from? One was Greg Little, the other was Devon Best. Both have responded, and this is just an excellent catch. Look at Best separates from Graham, and then watch the move, as you mentioned, on Ladarius Webb, right there. He gets to the outside, scoring his 2nd touchdown of the day. Devon Best has responded to his coordinator's cry to make plays for this offense.
Campbell with 2 touchdown passes. Cundiff to try to tack on one more. 14-3 Cleveland. They've lost 3 in a row. They changed quarterbacks. They went to Campbell. He has sparked new life in an improving Browns team. A draft day trade. Miami to Cleveland brought in Devon Best, undrafted out of Hawaii. Had some good seasons in Miami with the Dolphins. Came here, leads the NFL in drops coming into today with 9.
Yeah, but he spent extra time on the jugs machine after every practice, reconnecting the eyes and hands. And boy, has he. He's made some plays in this game, helping to give the Cleveland Browns a huge lead. No more of this losing 11 consecutive games.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Fidelity Investments. Take control of your personal economy. Pepsi, live for now. And by Universal Pictures, The Best Man Holiday, rated R, in theaters November 15th.
Talking to both teams, there's a sense of urgency you feel with both these clubs.
There's no doubt about it. And Joe Flacco said that they wanted to score early so that they can run the ball late, try to increase the tempo. Hasn't worked out for him so far. Again with 6 in the box, to see if he checks to the run.
Here's Rice, grabbed by Phil Taylor, and that was a story coming into today. There's a loss of 3 on the play, back to the 17 between those two, Rice and Taylor.
Oh, there was no doubt. And what did Ray Rice tell us? He said it would not be in my best interest to anger Phil Taylor. And you can see why. He's knifing in, and obviously Taylor's going to play at his best coming out to compete in this ball game after they had a little go-between in week 2 in their contest.
Second down and 13. Monroe the block. Jacoby Jones stiff-arming his way into the grasp across the way of defensive back Chris Owens. And it's a gain of 9, and they'll spot him at the 26. Week 2 at Baltimore. Browns nose tackle Phil Taylor, been talking about this, flag for a 15-yard unsportsmanlike conduct personal foul for slapping running back Ray Rice. Then Taylor claimed Rice spit on him, provoking the slap. But Rice says, as Solly was just talking about, he had his mouth guard in, he was trying to talk, and who knows what comes out then. Here comes Owens on the blitz. The former Falcon flying in. It's the second sack. Down he goes, back at the 18, and they got a punt, losing 8 yards.
It's an overload to the left side. Watch 53 Robertson, and then there it is, Chris Owens. So Rice picks up one blitzing defender, but they're not able to pick up another. This is that zone blitz scheme where they bring the dime defender, in this case the nickel defender, Chris Owens. He comes clean, able to get the sack on Joe Flacco.
Cook is going to punt to Edwards. This is the third 3 and out in 4 possessions for the champs. Edwards from the 27. And here he goes the other way. Shockey Brown from behind, grabs him, brings him down. Scrambling for 12 right there after a 55-yard punt. The Cleveland defense has come to play. Coming up next, the Verizon Halftime Report with JB, Dan, Shannon Boomer, and Coach Cowher. News, scores, and highlights. That's coming up from our CBS studios in New York. The Verizon Halftime Report. The defense of the Ravens had only allowed 13 touchdowns, the 4th fewest touchdowns in the NFL coming into today. Already 2 first half touchdowns to the Browns. Here is a 1st and 10 after a 3 and out by Baltimore, and across the way they go, and Smith will watch the twirling catch of Little, net 2 yards, Solly, up to about the 41.
Yeah, the Baltimore Ravens had only allowed 5 touchdowns in their last 6 games, where they had held teams to an average of 16 points. And you mentioned already giving up 2 touchdowns early in this game. Coach Harbaugh's talked about the fact during the bye week they had 2 days of very tough and physical practice. They felt like they were getting back to playing their best football. Not a good start here today in Cleveland.
They have a couple tight ends, 2nd down and 8. McGahee fumbles the ball. It's loose, and there is a recovery by Ihedebo for the Baltimore Ravens. A fumble by Willis McGahee, and a turnover deep in Cleveland territory.
And the Baltimore Ravens here is mentioning the fact that they've gotten off to a slow start on the defensive side of the ball, because watch as they just plug up the middle against Willis McGahee, a former Baltimore Raven himself. And they were able to punch it out. Looks like Courtney Upshaw was able to get in there. James Ihedebo comes over to scoop it up, creating a turnover and getting good field position for Joe Flacco and the Ravens offense.
That is McGahee's first turnover as a Cleveland Brown. And a nice opportunity here for Flacco, as you see their first half resume so far.
They haven't done much with the football, but with this kind of field position, they've got to be able to make some headway against this Browns defense. Hasn't been easy.
Looks into the nickel on 1st down and 10. Rice underneath. Good beat on it over there by Craig Robertson, who's a undrafted kid out of North Texas. No gain on the play. 2nd down and 10.
Well, you talk about these Cleveland Browns on the defensive side of the ball. They're very proud of the fact that they're tied for 1st in terms of allowing only 4.6 yards per play. Even though they're playing somewhere around 70 snaps per game on that side of the ball, they still are playing at a high level. These guys are good at every level. Take a look at Joe Hayden, the front, the middle range, and then on the back end in the secondary.
A lot of acclaim, you're right. 2nd down and 10. Rice. Grabbed by Tashawn Gibson. On a gain of 2. A flag is down, but gained down to about the 37-yard line. Is it a
Holding. Offense. Number 64. 10-yard penalty. Second down.
Looked like he said 64. I thought it's on 74 or.
Here you see the Cleveland Browns fewest yards per play allowed. One of the best in the National Football League. This defense, though, they played a lot of snaps. 4th most plays from scrimmage of any defense in the NFL, but still they're not giving up a whole lot. Tells you just how good they are.
Second down and 20.
Same thing.
And roll the block on Shear. Outside they go right there for Smith. The coverage by Hayden. They're friends. Way back when, Hayden, who's from Fort Washington, Maryland, with the coverage.
Well, take a look at him. He plays from the top down. Watch how he settles. And then see how he wins the fight for position. Just incredible footwork. Great anticipation. His improvement has been phenomenal. I think he's having a Pro Bowl season. And he takes on every week the best receiver of the opposing team, and they're not making any plays against Joe Hayden.
Hayden coming off, though, arguably his 2 worst games. Touchdowns in each of the last 2, none the first 6. Third down, 20. Flacco, and he's short for Doss. The coverage by Ward.
Oh, they're finding it hard to complete any passes against this Browns defense. The pressure, we told you at the front end of this Browns defense, is very good. They've been getting after Joe Flacco, making him uncomfortable. They're taking away his first and initial read in coverage on the back end, and then he's finding it hard to come off and find the second or third guy open.
Well, they squander good field position. They can do nothing with the recovered fumble of Cleveland running back McGahee, Cook, and Bess is back. Fair caught about the 12-yard line with a 36-yard well-placed punt by Sam Cook. Halfway through the second quarter, Browns on 2 touchdown passes. Well, you see the offensive story right there. 3 consecutive 3-and-outs by the Baltimore Ravens.
Well, Jason Campbell in this offense for the Cleveland Browns, it looks completely different with him under center.
Obaniah, a block for McGahee on 1st and 10. Not a hand in there, too. And you see Jameel McClain gain of 4. Smith was there. Ball to the 16. When NFL with NFL Mobile, you can get live video access to exclusive premium content on your smartphone. Call Star NFL to download or go to NFL.com/mobile to learn more. Message and data rates apply. It'll be second down and 6. Twice they leapfrogged Campbell when they had changes in quarterback. Now he finally gets his chance.
Yeah, boy, was he patient. I thought he handled that about as well as anyone ever could.
Whitaker was in the backfield. He gets the call. He's chased by Suggs. He's close to the first. He's a yard shy, picking up 5 out of the backfield right there.
I think Jason Campbell understood the situation that he was in. Yeah, he had to wait for the first-round pick Brandon Weeden to struggle just so that they can leapfrog him and allow Brian Hoyer to start. And Brian Hoyer won each of his first 3 games when he started. But you can see look at the sacks per drop back. And he's getting sacked once every 10 times that he drops back. 17 drop backs. Hoyer was sacked. Look at this, only 1 sack for Jason Campbell, and he's attempted 41 passes.
Nichols, secondary for Baltimore, 3rd and 1. Blitz is picked up by Obaniah. Knocked away that time by Bynes. Coverage on Cameron, the top receiving tight end in the NFL. Cleveland does nothing with it on that possession.
Well, the defense stood up. Crowded pocket, but you could see there he has to get rid of that, trying to anticipate, but it's just really good coverage defensively for the Baltimore Ravens, taking away one of their best weapons in Jordan Cameron.
There's a look at Tandon Doss out of Indiana. Lanning will be punting it. Wind at his back. With a 3-and-out for the Cleveland Browns. 2 Devon Best touchdown receptions in this game so far. Campbell throwing both. Doss waving the arm, and it's fair caught. A 54-yard punt. Well, tomorrow, Melissa McCarthy and Billy Gardell are back in the new Mike and Molly. Season premiere tomorrow, 9, 8 Central, only on CBS. Well, coming into today, the Ravens were one game and back as San Diego for the AFC's 6th and final playoff spot. That was going into today, but they lost in overtime. The Jets won today, so it is a constant changing picture in the AFC.
All right, and you can see the offense is struggling. 3 and out in 4 of their 5 possessions today. They've lost 3 of their last 4 games and lost 2 in a row going into the bye. They really do need to get it going here.
Kurt Pierce on first down and 10. Looked like Desmond Bryant was at the bottom of that pile, losing those games by a total of 8 points. I mean, they were in all of them, obviously.
Well, the defense has played well for Coach Harbaugh. The offense is still struggling to find its footing. And what did he tell us when we met with him yesterday? He felt like over the next couple of years, Joe Flacco is ready to take that next step and become one of the elite quarterbacks. Remember, they're allowing him to run the show, allowing him to read the defense, check either run or pass play. But he's got to execute much better than what we've seen here in the first half.
2nd and 3. Oh, they were coming at him. Bryant was throwing the pressure and knocks him down. The former Oakland Raider. It's incomplete to Marlon Brown. It's 3rd down and 3.
And this one is on Flacco. You got to know if they're coming here. When you turn around, and the play fake wasn't very good. Look at this. There's no running back there on the play fake. All he does is sets it up. Bryant is able to close in on Flacco immediately. That play appeared to be very disjointed.
Brown shouldn't have chipped him as he was in motion there?
Well, if he wasn't called to chip him because he was releasing on the pass pattern.
5 Cleveland defensive backs on this 3rd down and 3 for Joe Flacco. He needs the 35, and he's got the first down. Sliding, brought down by Armani Bryant. Picks up 8. That's the Ravens' first down since 5.5 left in the first quarter.
You don't have to tell Joe Flacco to go feet first, do you? Go ahead, slide. And, you know, that's the thing they give quarterbacks to protect themselves. And yeah, even though Bryant was already lunging, but there was no real physical contact made on the play when the quarterback attempts to slide.
Ravens with a couple timeouts and a 1st and 10. Pierce ran into Orr. No place to run, no place to hide. T.J. Ward brings him down. No gain on the play.
No, the one thing with this zone blocking scheme, it's been implemented by the Baltimore Ravens. Typically, when you employ this kind of scheme, you want to wall off on the front side and cut people and get them on the ground on the backside. I haven't seen that from the Baltimore Ravens. They're trying to wall off everyone, and this defensive line, they're just too fast, too strong, too physical to allow them to stay on their feet. I think you're going to create some running lanes for the running backs.
Fake to Pierce on 2nd down and 10. Going deep. Oh, he's got Jones, but now it's a little underthrown in the ricochet and picked off by Hayden. They say he's down at the 22 looking for Jacoby Jones. He was in suffocating secondary defense for the Browns. And a turnover for the first time today by Baltimore.
Let's see if indeed Joe Hayden was able to haul this one in. They're trying to get it over to Torrey Smith. There were 2 receivers in the area. There's the catch. I think that's a catch. Did the ball touch the ground? Yes. But did he have control over it and maintain control? Absolutely. The ball doesn't roll, doesn't rotate. Remember, the ball is allowed to touch the ground, but if it jostles loose in any way, shape, or form, they're going to rule it an incomplete pass. I think Hayden has it. It touches the ground. I think he maintains control.
Every turnover reviewed. Flacco's first interception in his last 85 passes. Hayden with his first pick of the year. A review in 3:06 in the first half.
Welcome back to Cleveland. This is going to be ruled an interception by Joe Hayden. Not only does he make the catch, he maintains possession after the ball makes contact with the ground. I think we have clear visual evidence. It was ruled an interception in the field of play. And I think it's going to be uphill.
After reviewing the play, the ruling on the field is confirmed. It's an interception. First down, Cleveland.
Did you see all the brown jerseys around Jacoby Jones?
This ball should have never been thrown by Joe Flacco. He's going to regret throwing the ball because this is what we call single high coverage. Look, you've got a safety in the middle of the field. You got 2 post routes, and you never throw it. You got to throw it outside the numbers. He just lofts the ball up in midair for just about any of the Browns defender to come down with it.
1st and 10, Fonzie Whitaker as he climbs his way out of some congestion. Smith brings him down near the 34. Pickup of 11. 1st down for Cleveland.
Well, it's clear today that Joe Flacco was struggling, I think, throwing the football, finding receivers, and really managing the offense. The defense is going to have to bail him out and really keep the score down. They're going to have to do a better job of whether it's creating turnovers against this Browns offense or keeping Jason Campbell out of the end zone. It's going to be on the defense to make plays.
It's Whitaker again on 1st and 10. Arthur Jones, then Nada, then they just have the avalanche of defenders. No gain on the play. Whitaker, Foswit Whitaker from the state of Texas, was a Longhorn. He had 3 knee injuries in college football, an ACL, an MCL, right knee microfracture, as you see our quarterback comparison.
Yeah, Whitaker is one of those guys. He's kind of helped him. He's given him some quickness, given him some speed, and at least some ability to be explosive coming out of the backfield.
Late second half possession here for the Browns because of the Hayden interception, who said this week the Browns are facing a Raven team that's not the Raven team of old.
He said he meant no disrespect. He said both teams have changed. And he said history's not going to matter in this game, the fact that they've lost 11 straight games. He said, but let's face it, they've changed. There was no Ray Lewis over there. There's no Ed Reed over there. He said we can now impose our will on the other team. And boy, are they doing that in this game today.
One timeout for Cleveland, 2nd down and 10 into the nickel. Moving in, getting by Dumerville, hit by Smith, and wisely throws it away. That's a veteran move right there, the 9-year veteran. Campbell out of Auburn.
I remember we asked Terrell Suggs about those comments from Joe Hayden. He didn't want to say anything. He just kind of gave us that wink. He's going to be chasing the quarterback today. Already has 1 sack to begin the game, but now he's one of the new leaders on this defense. He and Haloti Ngata, they've got to be able to provide a spark for this football team. And you can see the Cleveland Browns offense, they've scored 5 times in the final 2 minutes of the first half this season. 2 touchdowns and 3 field goals, and looking for more on this possession.
With a 3rd down and 10, Smith jetting up the middle and making the move on Campbell, and down he goes, another sack. Back to the 21, 3rd sack today, registered by the Baltimore defense. Loss of 13. And the Browns do nothing with that turnover. They got to punt the ball.
Oh, you ask this defense to make a play, and that's exactly what they do. You can see Smith coming right up the middle. They come with a double A gap blitz and able to get right into the face of the quarterback. Daryl Smith has quietly been a, I think, huge acquisition for this defense. He's made a lot of plays, sacks, interceptions, doing a little bit of everything on defense.
Well, you're right. John Harbaugh said one of the most underrated defensive players over the last decade in the NFL. And he's right. He's a good one. Lanning to punt. And the ever dangerous Doss is back to the 26-yard line. Looking for some room on the side. Brought down by Owens across the way. And a return of 54 yards. Well, a kick of 54 and a return of 9. Coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report, join JB, Dan, Shannon Boomer, and Coach Bill Cowher. News, NFL scores, and all the highlights of a busy day in the NFL coming up next in the Verizon Halftime Report from our CBS studios in New York. And here, with limited time left, 1:01 and 2 timeouts, Flacco has it. 1st down and 10, it is 33. Last 4 possessions, 3 and outs, 5 plays, pick. Down he goes. Armani Bryant makes the move. He's a rookie. His 2nd sack of the year out of East Central. 3rd sack by the Browns. He is knocked out at the 32, losing a half yard. A timeout apiece remaining. 55 seconds in the first half. 2nd down and 11. The middle they come again, including Kruger. They go underneath, and it's caught by the running back Rice. Brought down by Bryant. He picks up 3 yards and takes it up to the 35-yard line.
Have you ever been as impressed with this Cleveland Browns defense and all the times we've seen them? You can tell that each and every week that they play in Ray Horton's defense, they're more familiar. with what they're doing, and they're becoming more aggressive.
3rd down and 8. Moving up, gets a block, going. Oh, and he's got Smith wide open. With a great cut, he gets by Ward. He'll dance in the secondary. He is pelted by Owens, and he goes down at about the 18-yard line. That is a terrific catch and run of 46.
You know, and they just fall asleep. It looked like Amani Bryant had Flacco. He gave up. Hayden sort of drops coverage as he allows Smith to just separate in coverage, had his eyes in the backfield, and Flacco stayed with it, able to find Torrey Smith. And look, you're going to see him right here. Now watch Hayden. He has him. So you're in man-to-man coverage. Now stay with him. And the safety just runs himself out of coverage. That's Deshaun Gibson. So when you play in the secondary, you lock your eyes in on the quarterback, you drop coverage. That's how receivers are able to get so wide open, as we saw with Torrey Smith on that play.
Well, Torrey Smith, Sally, has more receptions of 20 yards or more than any other receiver in the NFL. Picks up a quick 46 right there. And now they've got the ball at the 19-yard line with a 1st and 10. No timeouts. 20 seconds to play in the half. Flacco and going for the end zone. And Hayden was watching his buddy, Torrey Smith. Incomplete. 2nd down and 10. No yellow on the field.
That was just beautiful coverage by Joe Hayden. In fact, if he times this jump better, he'll be intercepted. Look, he stays on top end coverage. Eyes inside, plays the ball well. See, if he times that jump, I think he's going to get himself an interception. Already has one in the first half, but that was just excellent coverage by Hayden on that play.
Rises in. Jacoby Jones, bottom of your screen, 2nd down and 10. No timeouts. Good block by Monroe at the left tackle. And they've got Brown. That is a touchdown. Unless he's got, no, he got in there. A touchdown reception for Marlon Brown. He had touchdowns in 3 of the first 4 games. None since. 19-yard grab, and the Ravens are back in business.
They're working against zone coverage. They're able to run one receiver deep. That creates room underneath for Brown. And he's able to come in the underneath zone, catch it, turns up, because they're defending the deeper receiver in the end zone. And they just turned Brown wide open. How about Flacco rallying on that drive to be able to get a touchdown after the Browns break ranks in coverage?
Here's Tucker, 14-10, which is something that the Ravens, I'm sure, feel they can work with going to the second half. A 19-yard touchdown pass to rookie free agent Marlon Brown out of the University of Georgia. His 4th touchdown reception this season. And Baltimore is back in at 9 seconds to play. This week, don't miss the show that's in a league by itself with guys who take on all 32 teams and each other every week. James Brown, Phil Simms, and Chris Collinsworth with the artistry of NFL films and the chemistry of the guys. Inside the NFL, the show the pros watch. Wednesday at 9 only on Showtime. So a touchdown pass and a pick by Flacco in the first half. 2 touchdown passes by Jason Campbell of the Browns. And this is going to be an entertaining second half in Cleveland.
That's exactly what the Baltimore Ravens needed going in at halftime. Needed to make a play, and they needed to see Joe Flacco play better after lofting a ball up in the middle of coverage and having his pass intercepted by Joe Hayden. Next time they get the ball back, goes right down the field, scored points with 9 seconds to go in the first half.
And a little short one right here, and scooped up, and Leon McFadden was the one to reel it in. And he's up to the 43-yard line with 6 seconds to play, and Cleveland does have a timeout as McFadden comes out of the pile. So the Baltimore Ravens, coming off a bye, have lost 2 straight and 3 of 4. The Browns have lost 3 consecutive games. Each team feeling a sense of urgency, they've told us on both sides, coming into today because the division is close, and it was helped that way with Cincinnati's loss Thursday down in Miami.
After watching Cincinnati lose that game in Miami on Thursday night, both teams, I think their hopes of getting into the divisional race were resuscitated. They both feel like this game is vitally important to continue their efforts to challenge the Bengals. The Baltimore Ravens have a game coming up with them very soon here, and so does the Cleveland Browns. And the Browns already beaten the Bengals once during this season right here in Cleveland. So both teams feel like they still have a shot, but today's game is vitally important to their overall hopes of making the postseason.
Well, 1 second. Now they're going to take a delay of game. I assume.
Offense, 5-yard penalty.
So they keep the timeout. They were trying to get their offensive personnel straight. You saw a late entry there by Armani Edwards, signed this week. Signed Tuesday. He had played at Carolina when Roger Zinski was down there as the offensive coordinator, so very familiar with him.
Well, he wanted to keep the timeout so he can take a shot even in the middle of the field. 5 seconds, 6 seconds, might be tight.
Going underneath, brought by Edwards. Diving and brought down by Corey Graham at the 48. Gain of 10. That'll take us to halftime with the Browns on top. They have led at halftime in 7 of their 9 games.
They called timeout, Kevin.
Cleveland. There's 1 second remaining on the clock.
There you go. That's why he wanted to keep that timeout in his hip pocket. He wanted to get a pass completed over the middle of the field. That's why they took the penalty. And watch with the run here, and then does he get down in time? They call timeout. Look, with 1 second to go. Take a look at the time clock on the bottom left side of your screen.
Well, that was a quick timeout because I don't even think his body had settled by the time it was down.
Well, you know the head coach can call timeout from the sideline.
But the play has to be complete, and that, well, who knows? They're going to give him a second, and we'll see what they do with it. Ravens, and out of camera view here, have 3 players inside the 10. Campbell with a good long arm, winding up, going deep, and the ricochet, and it falls helplessly, incomplete. And that will take us to halftime. 2 touchdown passes from Campbell to Bess. The Ravens ending the first half on a Flacco 19-yard touchdown pass to rookie free agent Marlon Brown. A close one at halftime, the Browns by 4. You're watching the NFL on CBS.
The season, but, you know, he come out and he's responded. You have to continue to play well. I think Jason Campbell has allowed them an opportunity to really jumpstart the offense.
The Flacco first half performance is interesting. For instance, on the pass that he was going for Jones, Jones was open, but the ball was underthrown. We know Flacco's got as good a big arm as there is in the league.
He struggled in the early going of this game, but you got to give a lot of credit also to this Cleveland Brown defense that has played very well. But Flacco was able to get it going in that final possession at the end of the first half, was able to get some points on the board. So we'll have to see how he responds and some of the adjustments made at halftime.
And then when it was underthrown, of course, on the long pass to Jones, the defenders for the Browns had a chance to get back there and gain some momentum. Nonetheless, we start the second half, a much-needed touchdown in there for the Baltimore Ravens late on a 19-yard throw to the receiver Brown. The ensuing kickoff, after deferring and winning the toss to begin the game, they get it with Jones taking it out and hit on the play and brought down after a 23-yard return by Jordan Poyer, who was recently signed by the Cleveland Browns. And through 30 minutes of football, these are some of the numbers.
How about the Browns dominating in time of possession? The 3 and outs by this Baltimore Ravens offense, I think, is shockingly and very surprising. But remember, the Ravens offense has scored 3 touchdown drives on the first possession to begin the second half in their previous 7 games. So this is the opportunity, or at least moments, where Flacco and the offense has responded.
Rice on first down and 10. You're going to be watching some of that running today because that has been a problem. Sheard jumps on the running back. Gain of 3 to the 23.
And only 24 rushing yards in the first half for the Baltimore Ravens. They bring in this new zone blocking scheme where they are meant to wall off defenders, but this defensive front, they're just too big and too strong, too physical to run the ball on.
Second down and 7. That is Smith, knocked down by Robertson, weaves his way for a first down to the 31, picks up 8 yards. They'll move the chain.
And with the run game struggling, I think that's why Flacco has to play well. He's got to be able to find receivers open crossing the field as they find Torrey Smith doing the same there. They've got to be able to free up receivers. More importantly, they've got to protect Flacco, and then he's got to be able to execute the passing game.
Smith had that 46-yard catch and run late in the first half. They go outside, the tight end Dixon. He is followed by T.J. Ward, gain of 3 to the 4 to make it to the 34.
You can see much greater rhythm with Flacco in the offense. He's now saying, okay, we've got 3 receivers in the game. And watch him check. He's going to read or count the number of defenders in the box. He gets single high safety. He's going to throw it. Right now with 7 defenders in the box, he's going ahead and setting and could end up checking to a run.
False start.
False start. Offense number 68. 5-yard penalty. Second down.
That's the new starting left guard, A.Q. Shipley. They acquired him in a trade from the Indianapolis Colts.
And that puts Flacco behind on the count. He was going to pull on this play. Look at him. So go ahead. He's going to go ahead and pull right there. 68. Jumped too quickly.
His 5 previous starts had all come at center. He was acquired in early May, taking the place of Osemele, who in all likelihood is finished for the year. Second down and 12. Flacco gets away from Taylor and then throws it away, looking up the sideline for Brown.
Now they're faced with 3rd and long. That's where Flacco has to be careful. We told you how successful the offense has been on that first possession to begin the second half. His ability to convert 3rd and long plays is something that they've been very good at all season long. One of the best in the NFL converting 3rd down plays of 10 yards or longer.
Five defensive backs, 3rd and 12. They need the 41. Play clock at 2. Blitz. Flacco gets by it. He's chased by Armani Bryant and then run out of bounds by DeQuell Jackson. And he's got the first down, running to the 44. It's a pickup of 15 on 3rd and 12.
Well, we talked to many of the Cleveland Brown players. Look, they are going to blitz. Look at they're coming right there. Once he breaks containment, watch the speed of Joe Flacco. He goes 6'6". But look, Bryant's not able to catch him. He gets around DeQuell Jackson, picks up the first down. That's where he's shockingly very quick and very fast when he tucks it and decides to run with the football.
Second time there this afternoon that he has run for a first down on 3rd down. On 1st and 10, Rice, and the pile ensues. Gradkowski couldn't open up a hole. It's a gain of a yard to the 44.
You might say to yourself, why would you go ahead and check to the run? Look, Joe Flacco's their leading rusher on the day. And they continue to give Ray Rice and Bernard Pierce opportunities to run the football because if you're Flacco, you can't allow what happened week 4 in Buffalo on the road where he threw it 50 or more times in that game, ended up throwing 5 interceptions. You've got to have balance and continue to give the run game a chance.
Second down and 9. Flacco, Brown, and dragging the defender with him. Past the 50, DeQuell Jackson, pickup of 8, and to the 47-yard line.
Marlon Brown has really emerged for this football team. We knew Jacoby Jones and Torrey Smith would be the guys who could play at the wide receiver position. His emergence has allowed them to go with a 3 wide receiver set. It's the personnel grouping that Joe Flacco in this passing game would really prefer. They were waiting for a 3rd wide receiver to emerge, and Brown has been the guy.
And of course, missing Anquan Bolden, losing tight end Dennis Pitta. Guys that were so instrumental on that terrific run by the Ravens a year ago. 3rd and 1, play clock at 5. Pierce in the backfield. And he submarines for the first down, pickup of 3 to the 44.
It's one of their best looking run plays of the day. Watch you stick one foot in the ground, just attack the line of scrimmage is what you do there. They're able to wall them off, and Pierce is able to cut it back, hitting the line of scrimmage for a first down.
So Smith had a catch of 8. Flacco had a run of 15. Pierce just picked up the first down. 9th play of the drive, 1st and 10. Incomplete as he was going for his wide receiver, Torrey Smith. A lot of coverage there, including Hayden.
Flacco's going to put this on the backside shoulder of Smith, and watch, if he throws it on the front side, look at where Hayden is. I mean, he's on that inside. That's why you put it on that back shoulder, because you don't want it to be intercepted. You want to throw it away from the defender, and Torrey Smith was not able to adjust.
What's the play? Hey, last go! What is it? Keep on big.
Second down and 10. Flacco, Smith. He's got the first down, diving to the 32, picks up 12 on the play, and brought down by Gibson.
Right now, the defense is just playing cat and mouse with Joe Flacco, trying to make him think that he's got 8 in the box, and then they're giving him a too high and when he really wants to throw the football, and he was able to read it accurately and complete the pass.
Hayden there on the tackle from the 32. Drive started back at the 20.
Watch all the movement on defense. They're trying to confuse the count for Joe Flacco and hope that he runs out of time, forcing to run a play that he would rather not run.
Into 5 defensive backs. Flacco 1st and 10. Gets by Kruger. Chased by Hughes. And gets it off to Thompson, who is hit by the defensive back Chris Owens. With a gain to about the 23-yard line on a pickup of 9.
Well, they're making Flacco earn his money. Look at Kruger coming with pressure. Coverage is tight on the back end. Look at the coverage on Thompson. He stepped out of bounds and then came back in, which is why the official throws his hat down. It's going to be an illegal catch.
1st down.
Actually, they're going to repeat the 1st down, or at least that's what they're saying. We should probably wait for the call, but it looks like this one's going to come back. Take a look. See,
Illegal touching.
Illegal
is the
touching.
call.
See, he can't be the first guy to touch the ball after stepping out of bounds, and clearly he was.
Thompson with a couple catches today. His 3rd one right there, wiped away. Now 1st and 15. Rice is in. And incomplete for Brown. Either it was too high for Brown or too short for Smith. 2nd and 15.
You can see, Flacco is dealing with some of that. You talk about no longer having Dennis Pitta, how much he relied in the postseason on Anquan Bolden to make plays. He's having to deal with some new parts and new components around him there. You could see he was trying to explain to Marlon Brown, hey, you've got to continue up the field. I was anticipating you doing one thing and you did another.
Flacco is on pace for a 4,000-yard passing season. 2nd down and 15. And that's down the middle, and Dixon can't reel it in. Coverage by the linebacker, DeQuell Jackson. 3rd and 15, looking for Dixon.
Dixon's one of those players and trying to replace Dennis Pitta, who was a security blanket for Flacco. Look at this throw, and we've seen Pitta make those catches. Dixon's got to be able to come up huge for his quarterback here. You get a hand on it, got to be able to haul it in one way or another, but that's throwing it into a tight window, and Flacco knows that we had him. You've got to be able to make the catch for your quarterback.
Now the Browns on this drive have converted 3rd and 12, 3rd and 1. It began back at the 20. They need the 22 of Cleveland. 3rd and 15. Blitz up the middle with Jackson. Picked up by Rice. Then the 2nd wave, and that's T.J. Ward. Down he goes at about the 45, pushing them out of field goal range. It's the 4th sack. Ward picks up his 2nd sack of the season. It's a loss of 8. They got a punt.
They love playing defense for Ray Horton. There you see the blitz here, and there's DeQuell Jackson. Both he and T.J. Ward. They're relentless in getting to the quarterback. Come in with the 3rd most sacks in the National Football League, and you can see dialing up blitzes, able to get to Flacco.
T.J. Ward is the 2nd-rated NFL safety by Pro Football Focus, especially against the run. Sheard almost got in the way of that Cook punt. Bess lets it go in back of him and into the end zone. Touchback to the 20. 8:43 to go in the 3rd on a 45-yard punt. But number 43, Ward coming in and bringing down the Super Bowl MVP. Jordan Cameron, 84, has caught more passes than any other tight end coming into today, but he's not caught one. They've thrown to him 4 times after the punt by Baltimore from the 20 after the touchback, 1st and 10. Campbell, and that's caught by Little, picks up 5. And he's to the 25-yard line. Tonight on 60 Minutes, Alabama is the #1 team in college football. What is their secret? Coach Nick Saban. Only on 60 Minutes tonight. They'll be taking on LSU in a primetime game this Saturday night on CBS. A beauty in Tuscaloosa. 2nd down and 5. Blitz was on, and a deflected ball. Smith was looking for Little. Smith did not know Little didn't have the ball, and there go the flags. And that's a very difficult thing for a defender to go against right there. not knowing if he's caught the ball or not. He thinks he's making a tackle.
Yeah, and really, he's not trying to slam him to the ground as much as he is trying to be physical and play to the echo of the whistle and hope that you can get the ball out.
Did you see?
You don't know if he has it or not.
Did you read his list? He goes, how does he know he doesn't have the ball?
Yeah, absolutely.
Personal foul, unnecessary roughness, defense, number 51. 15-yard penalty, first down.
If you think he still has the ball, you have to play to the echo of the whistle. Right there, see, watch, he's still raking away. See his hands? And throwing him to the ground, you're not going to hurt him. He's not made of glass. It's not going to hurt little. Now, there's a little bit extra there. I know what officials are doing, and we're trying to clean up the game. We're trying to make it more safe, but you still have to allow it to be an aggressive style of play.
First down and 10. Barnage, the tight end, is on the move. Willis, McGahee, Mack, the center, and Laval trying to give a block. No gain on the play. Second down and 10. Let's take you to New York and James Brown.
Foles and the history book.
Yes, JB. His 7th TD pass on the day. Riley Cooper's 3rd with 3:43 left in the 3rd quarter. Yes, Nick Foles has 7 TD passes.
Shannon, give me a little Kevin Harlan.
Kevin, I don't even know what you could say on that one.
Back to Kevin Harlan.
We've had 2 quarterbacks this season throw 7 touchdown passes, including one against this great Baltimore defense on opening night.
Wow.
Isn't that something? Second down and 10. Thank you, Shannon. Thank you, James. Outside, dropped. Gordon, Smith there, flag. Flag downfield at about the 42-yard line on the far sideline. There's Scott Green. He worked Super Bowl 44 as a ref.
Interference, offense, number 12. 10-yard penalty, second down.
They're going to say that Gordon pushed off in tight coverage against Jimmy Smith right here at the top of the route in order to get separation right there. Just a little push and a shove, enough to create separation, and forgot to haul it in. Well, Gordon mentioned that it's a relief off his mind that he wasn't traded, and he admitted that it did serve as a distraction. We saw that in the Green Bay game where he really struggled, and then was able to pull it together last week where he had over 100 yards receiving against the Kansas City Chiefs.
Coach Field is the Browns' best offensive player. Second down and 20. Obaniah. Webb knocked him out of bounds with a catch and run of about 6, and they'll put him at the 36.
It's interesting to see, how Jason Campbell is distributing the ball. He's getting the ball outside the numbers. He does have the strong arm. Thought the game was played a little bit differently with Brian Hoyer, who got the ball out quickly, but preferred to go to the tight ends. You saw Jordan Cameron catching the lion's share of the passes, particularly down inside the red zone. You can see the pass distribution today. 11 to the wide receivers, none to the tight ends, and 5 to the back. So Campbell is pushing the ball much further down the field.
With a 3rd and 14, they need the 50. Here comes Canty. There goes Gordon, and he is shy of the first down. Nice defensive play by Corey Graham, allowing a 13-yard reception on 3rd and 14. 13-yard pickup. They got to punt the ball.
Oh, it's just good coverage. The key is the importance of tackling. Sure tackling right now. Look, hit, down he goes. Good defense by the Ravens.
Well, the Browns have been known in the past to be kind of sneaky in situations like this. 4th and 1.
They're very aggressive in all situations, Kevin.
Obaniah is the protector. Lanning is the punter. They will send this away. Lanning, by the way, has a touchdown pass as a holder on a field goal. Try and toss. Loses the ball and jumps. Oh, it's still loose. Browns have got the ball. The number 2 punt returner in the NFL. Misjudged it, lost it. It's recovered on the play by Eric Martin, who hurt his knee earlier in the game.
Watch this. He muffs it right there. Ball goes down. Look, he doesn't get on it. It squirts out clear on the other side. He had it for a second, but they're able to pry him loose from the ball. See, it goes right through his legs, and he doesn't reclaim it. Martin gets it. So while he hovered over it, he wasn't able to pull it into his body to secure the ball. He had 2 chances to get it.
I think maybe Johnson Botamosi got his hands in there and tried to chart it free. 1st and 10 at the 11. With McGahee in the backfield, couple tight ends. Flag.
"12 men, defense, 5-yard penalty, first down."
We've seen this twice. Each team defensively have had 12 men on the field. You say, well, how does this happen? Different personnel groupings, whether it's your sub package, whether it's your base defense. Guys need to communicate who is on the field, and you call it out. You have these nicknames for every personnel grouping, and when they call it out, you can see there's still some confusion as to who should be on the field.
They brought off Graham.
Now they're struggling to get lined up.
1st and 5. So they can get a first down. McGahee. And he had a bow along with the Suggs at the bottom of the pile on a gain of 2 down to about the 4-yard line on a muffed punt by Doss.
Arthur Jones, 97, knifed in, nearly made the play, and Doss can only contemplate his turnover. He's going to get an opportunity to redeem himself later in the game. Now, you know, the Cleveland Browns, they've scored 17 points or less in each of their last 3 games. They've lost all 3. If they can just get over that hurdle, scoring more than 17 points goes a long way.
2nd down and 3. Campbell, Barnage, touchdown.
There he laid it. Special teams saying we came through. We set the table for Jason Campbell, who delivers inside the red zone. Just got to admire the poise, Kevin, that he brings to these situations. They were coming with a blitz. Now watch Barnage. Look, he'll release right there. He comes out in the flat. Look at that. He's open. Jordan Cameron was also open in the back of the end zone. But it's just smooth selling, business as usual for Jason Campbell. Don't you love his demeanor?
His 3rd touchdown pass. They cash in on the muffed punt. Cundiff will make it 21-10. So Barnage with his 2nd career touchdown reception, wide open on the play in the 3rd.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com. Allstate. Are you in good hands? And by Chili's. $20 dinner for 2.
Jason Campbell is at 7 different receivers. He's at 2 different receivers on his 3 touchdown passes today, now turning into tonight. And Cleveland leads at 21-10. They've lost 11 consecutive against Baltimore. On the move, Jacoby Jones. Juszczyk with the block, and Jones up the sideline. And Bryant takes him out of bounds. 22-yard return. Here comes Joe Flacco. Well, we know that Cincinnati losing Thursday has opened the door a little bit here in the north. If Baltimore would go on to win this game, a game and a half back. If Cleveland wins, they'd be 2 games back. And here a 1st and 10 handoff goes to Pierce. Ataba Rubin throws him for a 2-yard loss back to the 24.
Well, they're struggling to run the football, Kevin. That's put more pressure on Joe Flacco to produce in the passing game. 13 rushing attempts for about 21 yards, other than the fact that Flacco is their leading rusher. So just between the running backs, haven't been able to really put up any numbers. You can see averaging 2.9 yards per carry.
2nd down, 13. Caught by Jacoby Jones. Wrestled down by Kruger initially. It's a gain of 3 up to the 27-yard line.
So when you become one-dimensional on offense, players like Paul Kruger and the rest of the defenders for the Cleveland Browns, they can pin their ears back and come after Flacco. They're starting to put some pressure on him. Only his ability to move around and buy a little bit more time and extend plays is allowing him to get the ball off without being sacked repeatedly.
Cleveland in the nickel, 3rd down and 10. Flacco has run today, 1 run for 15 yards. Here comes Mingo. There goes Flacco. He needs the 37. And And he's got his receiver, Dallas Clark, brought down by Ward and Mingo. The gain of 14 on 3rd and 10. It's a first down to the 41.
And they were blitzing. You mentioned Mingo was in there, but look at Flacco on the move, extending the play, throwing late back over the middle of the field, finds Dallas Clark. TJ Ward saying, man, if I'm a little bit closer, I may have myself an interception. You can see on 3rd down, Dallas Clark has been money for Joe Flacco.
Margo.
1st and 10. Deflected incomplete. Kruger may have gotten a hand on it. 2nd and 10 for Flacco as we take you to New York and James Brown.
Let Ben Roethlisberger throw it.
For the 2nd time today, Ben Roethlisberger hooks up with Jericho Cotchery. We have a tie ball game up in New England, 24-24, Steelers and pass.
7:03 in the 3rd. Back to Kevin and Solomon.
Yeah, you can see the Jets, JB. They're sitting there. They're rooting for Pittsburgh today.
2nd and 10. That run produces 3 yards. DeQuell Jackson was on the running back Rice. The gain up to the 44-yard line.
Now you got to continue to chop it. What did Flacco tell us? We want to score points early so we can run the ball late. 10 points is not enough to really try to continue hammering away with the run game. They're going to continue to read and let the defense dictate what they do in terms of run-pass ratio. But on 3rd and 7, expect the blitz coming from this Cleveland Brown defense.
They need the 49-yard line of the Cleveland Browns. 3rd and 7. Flacco. Here comes Desmond Bryant. And they got Doss, who is drilled on the play by screen. 2 yards shy of a first down, shy of midfield. Gain of 6. Now, 4th down and about a yard. What do you do here?
And now with the, I think you got to go for it. You've got to put some points on the board. You got to believe your offense is good enough to convert in the 4th and 1 opportunity. They talked about the 2 days in which they had a tough practice. Looks like they're going to punt it. It looks like they're going to punt it. I thought they may have trusted this defense a little bit more.
Here's Sam Cook in the bottom half of the NFL in terms of gross and net punting this season. Bess is back inside the 15 for the Browns. With the wind, they're caught about the 8. 42-yard well-placed punt by Cook. Jason Campbell has tied a career high with 3 touchdown passes today. Now we have the number 16 defense of Baltimore, the number 7 defense of Cleveland. And after that punt, worst beginning field position for Jason Campbell today. 1st and 10. And this goes with a handoff for a gain of about 2. Arthur Jones makes the stop on McGahee, and they'll put the ball at the 10. Saturday, the Home Depot SEC on CBS rolls out a day-night doubleheader. 2 good ones. First, Mississippi State visits Johnny Manziel and the Texas A&M Aggies. Then, Zach Mettenberger and LSU take on A.J. McCarron and the unbeaten top-ranked Alabama Crimson Tide. All starting with CBS College Football Special and College Football Today. A beauty next week on CBS. 2nd down, 8. There's Cameron upended by Webb, and he picks up 4 to the 14th.
So much of the talk about Jason Campbell throughout his career is on his slow deliveries, got a long windup, and he talked about one of the reasons why he wanted to come to Cleveland. He wanted the opportunity to play for Norv Turner. Norv has really worked with Campbell to speed up his process for getting the ball out much faster. He's been able to speed up his footwork. You can see the ball coming out on that play much faster than we're used to seeing from Jason Campbell, getting the ball over to Jordan Campbell.
He's hit 8 different receivers today.
He's been on fire today.
3rd and 4. And good defensive play by Corey Graham. Coming up from the secondary, it's a gain of a yard. It's 4th and 3. And the quarter will wind down. The ball is at the 15. Cleveland will punt, and they will have the wind at their back in the 4th. 3 touchdown passes by Campbell. After this message and a word from your local station, we come back to Cleveland. You're watching the NFL on CBS. Well, a punting situation coming up for the Cleveland Browns as we start the 4th quarter. Lanning has forced 2 fair catches. Doss is back. He muffed it last time for Baltimore. Wind at the back of the Cleveland punter. Doss from the 33. Some nice blocking and finding a gap and taking it down the sideline. Nice move there with Ogbonnaya knocking him out of bounds. That's why Doss, who returns that 30 yards, is the number 2 punt returner in the NFL. He's going to give Joe Flacco some good beginning field position early in the 4th in Cleveland. Well, down 21-10. A lot of time obviously left in the game. And here's the second start for Baltimore in Cleveland territory. They punted the first time. Second one right here from the 32. For the nice return by Doss. Flacco on 1st and 10. Marlon Brown finds room to roam. Gets by screen, hit by Hayden. And then finally brought down by Barkevious Mingo on a catch and run of 14 to the 18. First down.
They decided, Kevin, to blitz Joe Flacco on that play. They just turned Brown wide open. I mean, he was loose. No one covered him on the play. It was an easy read for Flacco. Flipped it over to Brown and have themselves a new set of downs.
With Rice at his side from the 18, Flacco 1st and 10 underneath. Good looking catch by Torrey Smith. Quickly hit by Hayden. Picks up 4 to the 14-yard line of Cleveland. Owen Smith, as you can see, a bit shaken up.
I think he lands on the ball. Watch him come across. He's going to have the one-hand grab, but when you land on that ball right in your chest, belly area, see right there? Tends to knock the wind out of you a bit. Go over to the sideline, recuperate. That hurts. What a catch by Smith.
He's got 4 receptions today. 2nd and 6. Flacco gets that quick one off to Thompson, who is hit by Chris Owens on a gain of 5 to the 9.
Right now, they're on the move. They're doing a really good job. Right now, Flacco's on the move, 3rd and 1 play. And you might ask yourself, do you go for 2 if you get the touchdown here? I think you go ahead and kick the field goal. And will you need it later? Absolutely. But you can wait until later to do it. You don't have to risk it now trying to get the extra score.
Extra offensive lineman is coming again, Rick Wagner. And he will be on the near side. Side or the right tackle. Pierce is in, 3rd and 1. Vontae Leach. He carves out the first down to the 7. Picks up 2 and a first down. 1st and goal to go Baltimore.
Look at the Baltimore Ravens. They appear to be getting some momentum, and as good as this Cleveland Browns defense has been, they've turned some receivers loose on this possession. You have to ask if they're beginning to wear down a little bit. They've played a lot. They've been used to playing roughly 70 snaps per game. But they've got to be able to hang in there. This is where this football team's been really good on this side of the ball.
Rice back in, 1st and goal at the 7. Touchdown. And caught on the play by Brown. Marlon Brown gets his 2nd touchdown reception, a 7-yard strike.
And they're going to go for 2. They're going to go ahead and make it a 3-point ball game, so if they need the field goal later, they are going to go ahead and go for it. But this is just really good throw from Flacco. Can't tell you enough about the protection he's had on this possession. Even when the Browns have dialed up blitzes, they haven't come close to getting to Joe Flacco, and Harbaugh wants to go for 2 here.
Flacco on that drive, a perfect 4 of 4. He's gone to his rookie free agent wide receiver Brown twice, a 19-yard touchdown pass just before halftime, a 7-yarder right there, and the book says go for 2. It takes into account the score and the time. Pierce in the pistol with Flacco.
Who do you go to when you're going for 2?
Good catch, and again he goes to Brown. He has been the target today. Marlon Brown puts 2 more on the board, makes it a 3-point game with just over 12 minutes to play.
Not only do they go to the slot receiver, but they roll the packet And they were able to get Flacco on the edge of the defense for a 2-point conversion, making it a 3-point ball game.
There's a look at Joe Flacco, who has thrown a couple touchdown passes today. Hit Marlon Brown earlier for 19, moments ago for 7, and the 2-point well-orchestrated drive. Began it on that drive, too. Brown had a 14-yard catch and run, so he had his fingerprints all over that scoring drive for the Ravens that bring them now to within 3 of Cleveland with just over 12 to play. Fozzie Whitaker leaves it in the end zone. Hey, get inside the mind of a quarterback. Join Phil Simms, Rich Gannon, and Steve Brulon. And special guest Gary Danielson on NFL Monday QB. Comes your way tomorrow at 6:30 Eastern on CBS Sports Network, the 24-hour home of CBS Sports. Brown only started 11 games at Georgia. He caught for his career 8 touchdowns. He's already got 5 in less than a full season in the NFL. How will the Browns respond now? 1st and 10 from the 20 after the kickoff and a touchback. Campbell whistles right by Bess with the coverage on the play by the linebacker Jameel McClain.
And Bess was knocked off his route by McClain, even though he was, still just beyond that 5-yard mark. But you are entitled to your position on the field, and McClain took advantage of it. Now let's see if Rob Chizinski and this offense can get something going. This is where Campbell has to continue to put points on the board. Joe Flacco's going to respond when he gets another possession.
2nd down and 10 with Ogbonnaya in the backfield. Blocked by Barnage. Ogbonnaya. Good beat down there by McClain. And it looks like Baltimore's tightening the defensive screws here a bit.
Yes, they are. Starting to pinch the pocket a little bit on Campbell. Campbell, I think, kind of surprised him a little bit the way he's been able to get out of the pocket and extend plays. See what he did in the first half where he was a lot more productive. 5 of 8 here in the second half. Still has thrown for a touchdown.
But they only have 37 yards this half.
Absolutely. See Norv Turner dialing up plays, trying to get his quarterback opportunities to get the ball to the receivers downfield.
5 defensive backs, and that's what Campbell looks in. And he finds his receiver, that's Little. And he gets a block, and he's off to the races. He'll go against Graham and be ushered out of bounds. Little has been terrific today for the Cleveland Browns. A catch and run of 46 yards to the 27-yard line of Baltimore.
Little appears to be in pain once he went to the ground after the catch and run. But how about this? He attacks this ball. Well thrown by Campbell on the money. And once he makes the grab, look, you can see Little came down looking for yards after the catch. He's done a really good job of making and securing catches. He falls on that right shoulder. That's why he's wincing in pain.
He has 7 career catches today. Career high. And on 1st and 10, the run produces only a yard as they go up the middle, and McGahee is the ball carrier. Little has had catches today of 32, and right there, 46 yards. And a career high 7 with over 100 through the air. The high pick out of North Carolina. Greg Little, 3rd year. He's led this team in receiving the last 2.
Well, it's something about coaches, particularly veteran coaches like Norv Turner. He knows how to challenge players. Challenge Little, as we said earlier in the week, expecting greater production out of both he and Devon Best. Both guys have been able to make plays in this ball game. Best already has 2 touchdowns and 7 catches, 122 yards for Greg Little.
Ogbonnaya in the backfield. It's a 2nd down and 10 for Jason Campbell. And that's a little bit high. Looking for Jordan Cameron. The coverage by Ihedibo, along with Omar Brown, who's been on the practice squad all season long. There he is. And he helps the special teams by being active today.
See that ball sails high and behind the intended receiver, Jordan Cameron. And then look at here, you see Brown and Ihedibo looking to separate the receiver from the ball. Now on 3rd and 10, see what the Browns can dial up. Obviously, this is where you go to your tight end, so you try to get Gordon down the field.
4 down territory.
Not just yet. I think you got to allow your defense to make plays for you as well.
3rd down and 10. Obadiah picks up the blitz. That's thrown in back of the receiver, Gordon, with the coverage on the play by Shockey Brown. So now it is 4th and 10. And they bring Cundiff out onto the field. Former Baltimore Raven kicker who was signed during the first week. They had a competition here. They didn't like what they found in training camp. They started from scratch and they signed him off the street.
Remember Cundiff in the AFC Championship game? Used to kick for these Baltimore Ravens.
Wind at his back, 52-yard drive. Oh, it's a fake and it's a pooch. And it will land at the 10 and roll into the end zone. So Baltimore holds. 34-yard punt. They can't keep it in. Browns turn it over to the Ravens, who have got the momentum and down by 3. Raven head coach John Harbaugh is telling us this is different than most Super Bowl winning teams because we had so much turnover from last season.
Yeah, a lot of guys are gone, and they have a lot of new guys they're trying to rotate into the lineup.
Brown on 1st and 10, ushered out of bounds across the way by Buster Screen. It is a gain of 6, and now Flacco is at 7 consecutive. Clock at 10:45 and down by 3. The Ravens begin to make a move.
You talked about Marlon Brown. He's one of the new guys they're rotating in. When you have to fill the shoes vacated by Anquan Boldin, those are huge shoes to fill.
B.
In the pistol, 2nd down and 4. Rice, and again, Mingo coming through that time. Again, the running attack is just not an attack at all. A loss of 2 on the play back to the 23. They're really struggling
there. Look, he just goes right underneath Michael Orr. And, you know, these are big guys who really want to be able to fire off and come off and be more physical. The zone scheme really doesn't allow you to do that. It relies on the athleticism of the offensive line, not necessarily the physicality of your offensive line.
How about Rice? 10 carries and 16 yards today.
Indicative of how this run game is really suffering.
He told us last night he feels almost 100% dealing with that hip injury. Flag, here they come! And Bryant, Armani Bryant, rookie 7th round pick, flag has been thrown. A sack right there by the Cleveland Browns. Goes back as it stands to the 14. Loss of 9, 5th sack. But it looks like it's going to be against the Browns.
Were they offsides? They were crowding the line of scrimmage, trying to get a jump on the ball.
Defense, number 43. 5-yard penalty. Automatic 1st down.
TJ Ward.
Sometimes when you're blitzing, you want to pull one of the blockers so that you free up the other guys to come free. Now take a look. Here he is right here. Let's see if he pulls someone so that it frees up someone else. No, he's in coverage and he's holding. There he is right there working against Dallas Clark at the 2nd level.
First and 10. Flacco incomplete. Looking for Jacoby Jones. Broken up by Chris Owens. Let's go to New York and James Brown.
Kevin, Patriots up by 10 now.
Tom Brady's first 3 TD pass game of the season. 17 yards, back shoulder to Aaron Dobson. 34-24. Pats 10-point lead over the Steelers.
Early in the 4th, back to Kevin Harlan and Solomon Wilcox.
All right, guys, thank you. Cleveland has led the entire way here. 2nd down and 10. It's Pierce. And up the middle he goes. He got by Tashawn Gibson, then brought down on the play by Craig Robertson. It's a pickup of 6 to the 35.
You know, the safeties, I just think the way they play in this defense, it's made for improvements as well. We all know about TJ Ward, but Tashawn Gibson has been a huge addition, and I think a huge find for Ray Horton in this defense.
Pretty important play right here. 3rd and 4 for the Ravens. Outside, they've got Jacoby Jones shy of the 1st down, and it was shy by about a yard. Picks up 3. The hit by Chris Owens knocked him out of bounds. And the chains are on the far side of the field, so they're going to bring him over from the far to the near side for a more accurate measurement, so there's an official's timeout.
Yeah, it's going to be close, but good tackle. Look how he Sort of comes up with the form tackle, does Chris Owens on Jacoby Jones, and knocks him back. Looks like he's just short of the first down mark. There was no yards gained after the catch on that reception by Jacoby Jones.
I don't think the spot's very good. And it looked like he got as far as the 39. But I wouldn't be surprised if they challenged the spot.
John Harbaugh was right in front of it, had as good a look as the officials did.
Short.
He's probably sees on his headset saying, what do you guys see from up there?
That's exactly what he's doing.
And should I challenge it? Probably even thinking, should we go for it here?
You know, now that I watch it a second time,
Yeah,
he may have been short.
Yeah, it was a great tackle by Chris Owens.
And I think a good spot now that I see it again.
Didn't
I'll
allow
take
him
back
to
what I said.
advance it at all.
I was wrong. 4th and 1, they're going to go for it. Their offense is on the field right now.
They're going to decide to go for it. How much confidence do you have in your offensive line that you can get movement in the run game when you've struggled to run it all day, only 52 yards rushing, most of it by Joe Flacco? But the running backs have found it hard to just even get beyond the line of scrimmage against this Cleveland Browns defense.
They'll bring in an extra offensive lineman, 71, rookie Rick Wagner again. And he will be on the near side next to Orr at the right tackle.
It's hard to try to draw people off sides when you're on the road.
Flacco by himself, the push. And it looked like Orr almost grabbed him by the shoulder pads and was dragging him forward as DeQuell Jackson came in with a stick. Michael Orr he did. They got the first down.
Vontae Leach was behind him. Big number 44 started pushing his quarterback forward. It was everything they could do to gain an inch.
Watch
on
Orr,
this play.
74.
And look, Orr's
Leach, you're
pulling
right.
him, and Leach is pushing him.
You're
One
right.
guy's pulling, the other guy's pushing.
Big play.
Right there.
7th play of the drive coming up. The clock approaching 8 minutes. All the timeouts remain. 1st and 10. Blocked by Monroe at the left tackle. And DeQuell Jackson quickly on the receiver. Jacoby Jones, a gain of 6 to just about the 46-yard line.
What did they tell us about DeQuell Jackson? One of the most underrated middle linebackers in the league. And you know, he's a fine tackler. He stays on the field on 3rd down. He can blitz the quarterback. Excellent in coverage and really good at diagnosing the offense and setting his defense up to be successful.
Pistol with Rice into the nickel. 2nd down and 4. Trying to work his way around. Brought down by Billy Wynn out of Boise State. A gain of a yard to the 47.
16 career game-winning drives in the 4th quarter or overtime, and he's done it 3 times against Cleveland. So this is a very familiar situation for Joe Flacco.
Yep, he's never lost to the Browns. Clock approaching 7 to play. 3rd and 3. Jason Campbell, you just saw him. He's had a big day quarterbacking his 2nd consecutive start for the Browns. Flacco, 3rd and 3. They got it, DeQuell Jackson. He's hit by Sheard and brought down. A loss. A sack right there by Jabal Sheard out of Pitt. His 2nd sack of the season. 5th by the Browns today. A loss of a yard, and they're going to punt.
Ray Rice tries to pick up DeQuell Jackson. And look, Jackson forces him to step up in the pocket, and then Jabal Sheard and the others peel off. Was able to get the sack, but the initial pressure was provided right up the middle by DeQuell Jackson.
See what kind of hang time Cook gets here. Best back inside the 15. This is into the wind. Sam Cook angles it and way out of bounds. So now the walk-off on the sideline is going to be up to about the 29-yard line. 25-yard punt. Browns get it, leading by 3 in the 4th. 6:44 to play. 3 timeouts apiece. With Solomon Wilcots, Kevin Harlan, 29-yard line. Here come the Browns.
151 hard.
Ravens punting moments ago. 3 touchdown passes by Campbell today. 1 to that guy in motion right there, Barnett. Campbell knocked down beautifully on the play. The defensive back, Corey Graham. 2nd and 10.
Kevin, what did Rob Chizensky tell us when we spoke with him? He said you can't underestimate the importance of the quarterback position. He feels that it's the most important position in all of professional sports. Believes that Jason Campbell's ability to lift his entire team just with his cool, calm personality and demeanor can really help this team be a contender.
2nd and 10. McGahee spins for one of his better gains of the day. Upshaw was on the tackle just beyond the 35. Picks up 6 on the run.
Well, Rob Chizensky, he spoke with Josh Gordon, said, hey, we don't want to trade you. We're going to try to keep you. Hang in there with us. And you know, he was able to, I think, have a great influence on several players and the way that this team is being built. He said he's always wanted to be aggressive on both sides of the ball. On defense, we saw the aggressive play calling in the first quarter, going for it on 4th down in moments like that. And even on special teams, they're willing to take chances, trying to eke out wins any way they can.
Empty the backfield with Ogbonnaya on the move. 3rd down, long 3. Campbell moves up. He needs the 40. He's got the 1st down, and he takes it to about the 49 with a 1st down run. Flacco's done that a couple times today for the Baltimore Ravens. A run of 12 and a 1st for Cleveland.
He does use his legs, but this isn't a real baseball slide. This is more like a laydown, isn't it? But it's a smart play because they can't hit you when you go feet first.
Greg Little, we're being told, has a shoulder injury. He was just in. He is left again, so it's clearly bothering him. On the 48, 1st and 10. Campbell, Whitaker, who comes back for the ball and tackled on the play by linebacker Jameel McClain. That spinal injury a year ago. Good to see him back out there, but a pickup of 8 right there for the Browns to the Baltimore 43-44.
The insertion of Jason Campbell at quarterback has given this team some poise. It's given them some kind of calmness on offense. And what about the confidence? I think we saw it in the second half of the game last week at Arrowhead Stadium against one of the best defenses in the NFL against Kansas City. And right now he's engineering, I think, a very important drive that could go a long way in helping them win this game.
2nd and 2, McGahee. Good as he crossed the line, close to a 1st down, hit by Chris Canny. Of course, the 3 timeouts remaining, the clock at 4.5 and ticking. Canny is slow to get up, and you're wondering now when you start using some of these timeouts.
Yeah, if you're the Baltimore Ravens, got to conserve it, but you've got to trust that your defense can get the stop against Jim Harbaugh's team. He's waiting for his defense to come up with a stop. You guys help us get the ball back so I have the timeouts in my hip pocket for Joe Flacco.
Brandon Williams comes on that defensive line. The Cleveland Browns have a 3rd and 1. They're the best 3rd and 1 team in the NFL. And they get some extra meat back there. As you can see, a lineman is in. That's Billy Wynn, who is back there with Ogbonnaya. Just under 4 to play. Timeout taken. Cleveland.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Jaguar. See the new model year lineup at JaguarUSA.com. And by the new Windows. One experience for everything in your life.
Still Halloween for some. That's quite a string of wins or losses, whichever side you're on.
Yeah, Rob Chizensky needs to break it. This important 3rd and 1 situation could go a long way into helping them end that streak.
Defensive lineman Billy Wynn is in there at 3rd and 1. Pretty important play right here. And they try to dig it. It looked like Nada was grabbing the waist of McGahee and bringing him back. Ogbonnaya was in there before the timeout.
Looks like they're short.
They replace him, and there's also jumping out there Terrence Cody, who has been dealing with the sprained left knee.
Take a look at this. a lot of girth in there with Haloti Ngata and some of the others. They're stacking the box. They covered the center guard gaps on both sides. No room to run. Now in 4th and 1, looks like Rob Chizensky's going to go for it again.
And what do you think of this call?
I'd rather see him pooch punt it, to be honest with you, and make them go to distance. Because they only need a field goal to tie this game.
Timeout, Cleveland, 1 left. Baltimore's got all 3. 4th and 1. Maybe try to draw them off sides was the thought before. Now the timeout taken. 3:12 here. Got a good finish here. Let's go to James in New York with more.
Seattle Magic at home.
They needed the largest comeback in history, down 21. Steven Hauschka in overtime. 27 yards, 27-24. Seahawks escape the Buccaneers.
Kevin and Solomon.
That's the third time the Seahawks have trailed in the fourth quarter this year and come back to win. And that place is impossible.
It's impossible. You can't win up there.
Wow.
I mean, Tampa's saying, what do you have to do? And the 49ers, I'm sure, was pulling for Tampa to close it out. Now on 4th and 1, do you go for it here? If I'm the Cleveland Browns, and I know they want to be aggressive, but they've struggled to run the football today. They couldn't even get a yard on the 3rd and 1. Makes you think you're going to get it on 4th and 1.
Two tight ends. Whitaker in the backfield, 4th and 1. Campbell. He's being chased by Upshaw. He's being chased by McClain. He throws it. He got the ball to Bess.
Wow.
That is a first down right in front of Webb. Pickup up 2. First down, Cleveland.
That's a quarterback making a play for his head coach. You bailed out Rob Chizzinski here, Jason Campbell. You're running for your life. You throw the ball late and over the middle. Ladarius Webb nearly intercepts it, but Bess is able to wrestle the ball away from 21. And Ladarius Webb can't believe that pass is completed.
And Bess has been one of the best third down receivers on that particular case. 4th down reception, getting a first down.
Campbell.
So now the Baltimore Ravens, with the clock and ticking at 2:29, they got the 3 timeouts.
Oh yeah, that's a dagger there. John Harbaugh can't believe it.
McGahee in the backfield, 1st and 10. Willis. And he's down to about the 37-yard line, near the 36, and picks up 3. And the timeout taken by Baltimore, stopping the clock at 2:13. Another stoppage will be at the 2-minute warning.
So they have 2 timeouts, and plus they have the 2-minute warning. But your defense has got to get a stop, and boy, do they need it there. Needed to get the ball back for Joe Flacco there with a little bit more time. And Flacco's watching every tick of the clock just drip away.
Well, the AFC North Division has sent the most teams to the playoffs in the NFL the last 5 years. The Bengals right now, as you see, the only winning record in the North, but losing as they did on Thursday Night Football in Miami has opened the door a bit now and changed the landscape a bit with this North, and a win by either of these teams today makes it a different story.
And the Pittsburgh Steelers down by 17 in the 4th quarter against the New England Patriots. So, these are the next 2 challengers. If one of them steps up to win this game, knocking on the door against the Bengals.
As Browns fans know, they've already beaten Cincinnati once this year. 2nd down and 7. Campbell, and right down the middle. It's a good catch by Obadiah, who is brought down by Darrell Smith at the 20. It's a first down catch and run of 17. Timeout, Baltimore.
This is a gutsy play by Campbell. He's battling a rib injury, was knocked out of the game earlier. Look at him extend the play, hang in the pocket, and how about Obadiah detaching from Darrell Smith in coverage, and Campbell just hanging in the pocket, knowing he's going to get hit, waiting for the last minute to cut it loose to Obadiah. Pick up a first down.
He's good out of the backfield. A couple weeks ago against Detroit, had 7 receptions. Now has 24 on the year. They took over at their own 29 with 6:44 left. Upcoming is the 10th play of the Cleveland drive.
And Campbell's been phenomenal on this drive. Look at this. 3 of 4. And he's rushed for 12 yards to extend the drive. And he's been able to just hang in there and extend plays as he's completed 3 of those passes.
4 defensive backs, 1st and 10. And they get McGahee in back of the line of scrimmage, and the rookie Matt Elam comes through, the first-round pick out of Florida. It's a loss of 3. Back to the 22. A timeout remaining each way. Cleveland leading by 3. The 2-minute warning. 3 and 4 Baltimore, 3 and 5 Cleveland. We've had some big plays on this long drive. 10 plays so far, just under 5 minutes. Right now, 2nd down, 13. 2-minute warning, a timeout apiece. Harbaugh's Ravens down by 3. They've come into today having lost 2 straight, coming off a bye. Overall, 3 of 4 losses. Here comes the punt and a little shuffle pass. Obadiah Ahead brings him down, maybe a horse collar, flag down, enough for a first down. He's inside the 10. Ogbonnaya has come up with 2 big pass receptions on this drive. 17 catch and run moments ago, 14 right there. Let's see what Scott Green says.
Personal foul, horse collar tackle on the defense, half the distance to the goal, first down.
They're going to call him horse collar, but if you're James Ogbonnaya, you got to get him down any way you can. And, you know, I thought the horse collar was if you bring him down to the ground by grabbing the back. See, he grabs him there, slips off, splitting hairs a bit, but if you're James Ahead, you got to get him down any way you can, because if he gets into the end zone, you can kiss this one goodbye.
Clock at 1:51. McGahee in. First and goal. Willis. There's a block on the side there by Greco. There wasn't a whole lot of room. In fact, no gain on the play. Second down and goal at the 4. For those of you expecting to see 60 minutes, you're watching the NFL on CBS, the game between the Baltimore Ravens and the Cleveland Browns. Our score, 21-18 Cleveland. 60 minutes will be seen in its entirety immediately following this game, except on the West Coast, where it will be seen at its normally scheduled time. With a timeout, Baltimore burning their final. Cleveland with 1 left, 1:47 to play.
You know, most of this has been done by Jason Campbell throwing the football. Not many runs here. They've struggled. Both teams have struggled to run the ball. But in these situations where it's time sensitive, you got to continue to allow the run game to work for you and force the Baltimore Ravens to burn those timeouts.
Key play on the drive on that 3rd and 3. Campbell scrambling for 12. How about 4th and 1 where he finds Bess on the move?
Phenomenal.
2nd and goal at the 4. McGahee. Someone lost their helmet, and I don't think any gain at all. Another good stop. Arthur Jones among a couple, making the stop right there, and losing his hat that time was Terrence Cody.
Yeah, but by keeping the ball on the ground, they're burning clock. And they won't have to snap it till right around the 1 minute mark. And this is what, if you're Rob Jasinski, the ability to manage games in the final seconds, I think it's one of the more critical pieces when it comes to winning games. And it's where head coaches, that's where they earn their keep.
2 tight ends. 3rd and goal at the 4. McGahee. Outside he cuts. Nice pursuit defensively, and again, no gain. Suggs grabs his former teammate and brings him down. Baltimore cannot stop the clock, and you can see it ticking down.
You gotta, if you're gonna either kick the field goal or you use a timeout if you're Cleveland. Or do you go ahead and take the penalty, move it back just by a hair?
Do you go for it on 4th down? Then if you don't get that, make them go the entire length of the field?
Well, you're going to burn as much time off the clock here, then maybe use your timeout and then you set up to kick the field goal and take a 6-point lead.
Down to about 18 seconds or so. In Cleveland, he'll take the time.
There you go. Good clock management
They go
by
for
Rob Jasinski. Yep.
Billy Cundiff
does a really good job. He's a fine young coach. We saw him in the game against Minnesota manufacture a win on the road against the Vikings. Faking the special teams and faking punts, faking field goals and throwing it. Doing a number of different things. Anything they can to manufacture points and win a ball game.
Cundiff has had 1 block this season. On the field now. Looks like it's going to be a 22-yard try to put him up by 6. Wind at his back. 22-yard field goal try by Cundiff. Lanning to hold. 24-18. 14 seconds left. Good looking drive. They had a run by Campbell at 12, a catch and run of 17 by Ogbonnaya, a reception of 14 by the running back Ogbonnaya. They ran 6.5 off the clock. They get 3. Their lead is 6. 14 seconds, a 15-play drive by Chudzinski's offense.
And now the story shifts over to the Baltimore Ravens. We told you over the last 6 games that only allowed 16 points a game. They give up 24 on the road here today against Cleveland, and now it's on Flacco. This offense has got to score more points.
Tonight on CBS begins with 60 Minutes and Alabama's head coach Nick Saban, followed by new episodes of The Amazing Race, The Good Wife and the Medalist. Only CBS. It'll be a nice way to get ready for the LSU-Alabama game next Saturday night on CBS. And a look at John Harbaugh, who had the chance to self-scout with his staff and with his team. He was up and buoyant last night and felt very confident about his team and the adjustments they felt they had made during the break to get ready for this second half stretch run.
I think this goes back to some of the stories coming into the season. Without the likes of Ray Lewis and Ed Reed, where's the leadership coming? Can the defense continue to carry this football team? And at what point does the offense begin to take over as the dominant side of the ball in a place at least where you can be consistent? Joe Flacco has to be that component, and the offense has to be the part to really carry the team.
Well, they got to go a long way, and that was not too long ago when they had to do the same thing in the AFC Divisional Playoff game in Denver. Jacoby Jones gotten back a Denver defender. Raheem Moore and Tony Carter, 70-yard touchdown reception, 30 seconds left. Baltimore would win it in 2 overtimes on their way to the Super Bowl championship a season ago. Let's see what Flacco's got up his short sleeve here.
Game of inches, right?
It is indeed 4 wide. Rice at his side. No timeouts. 1st and 10. Flacco underneath. It's a pitch to Jones from Smith, who gets out of bounds. 7 seconds on the clock. Hayden shoves him out of play. 14-yard gain on the lateral up to the 34-yard line.
7 seconds, usually about enough time to get the ball down the field. Typically about 7 seconds per play, but you can see the distance they have to go. About 66 yards.
They got Brown, Jones, and Torrey Smith as receivers. 1st and 10. Flacco's got a big arm. Underneath, Rice. And that's it. Cleveland has won. Browns beat Baltimore for the first time since 2007. And now Cleveland within 2 games of first place Cincinnati. Baltimore will play the Bengals next week.
One might say everything will be on the line for Baltimore when they take on the Bengals.
Jason Campbell with 3 touchdown passes today to beat the defending Super Bowl champions. For Solomon Wilcots, Kevin Harlan saying so long from Cleveland. You've been watching the NFL on CBS. Boomer Esiason, I'll see you tomorrow in Green Bay. Let's go to you right now in New York.